Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I call to order the meeting of the Manassas Park Governing Body for Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. First, we have approval of the agenda. I believe we do have a closed session. Dean, would you please read the citation?
Yes, it's paragraphs 3 and 5 of subsection 2.2-3711A, Code of Kenya.
Okay, thank you. Any changes to the agenda? Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Hampton, would you lead us in the pledge? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have one person signed up to make public comment. Mr. Pat Kelly, please come to the microphone, speak directly into the microphone so your voice will be picked up. State your address and limit yourself to 3 minutes. Our city clerk will be timer.
Can you hear me okay? Good evening, my name is Patrick Kelly. I live at 9313 Paul Drive. I've been a resident of the Manassas Park for 27 years. Last week, you said you're going to buy a $6 million building. To pay for this building, you're going to sell the property next to it. You're going to collect proffers from the developer, who's then going to build 100+ high-density 2/2 rental occupancies. Now, 2/2 means 4 stories. High occupancy means 3 bedrooms. 3 bedrooms that have families with children, children who go to city schools, families that need city services. We can't keep building these high-density occupancies where the taxes we receive from them outlive the request for city services. It costs money to provide for these families, and if we don't get the right taxes from them, we keep digging a hole. But that's not really why I'm here tonight. Because no more than 15 minutes after that, our city manager proposed that we eliminate funding to the fire department for the promotion of lieutenants to ride on the ladder truck. Every building, well, this also went down the road of, if we don't have lieutenants on the ladder truck, we should sell it. Are you kidding me? Every building that you've built in the city in the last 10 years has been 3 stories or higher. Now, this is how that scenario goes. You're living on the 4th floor of this apartment building. The fire is on the 2nd floor. The fire cuts off the stairs. You're trapped. The engine company arrives. They attack the fire. They're followed by the ladder truck, who extend the ladder to the 4th floor balcony. The occupants are rescued over that ladder, and everybody makes it out alive. But that only happens with close coordination. The officer of the engine company, which is a captain, is directing his crew to put the fire out. The officer of the ladder truck is directing his crew to do the most essential thing, which is search and rescue. Okay? Now, you can say we have mutual aid, but mutual aid equates to minutes. Minutes that people on the 4th floor don't have. Because as that fire burns, the fire, the smoke, the heat, the toxic gases, they all go up. They don't go down, they go up. So, we can't keep increasing the population of our city while we're cutting city services. Public safety isn't something that you guys just talk about at election time. As elected officials, it's your job every day of the year to support public safety. So it's simple, okay? Restore the funding to the fire department so they can promote lieutenants for the ladder truck, and don't ever speak again of selling the ladder truck. Thank you.
Laszlo, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, a surefire way to lose a ladder truck is not getting a building for public works, because that building, if you're going to renovate it without the development next door, that's coming from existing budget funds, so you will never be able to keep the ladder truck if you don't actually approve that development to pay for the public works building. Just like this building here, right? We got it for free based off another development. Those developments have not been taxing the services. They've been providing additional revenues for the service for the city. Our school population has continued to decline, so I know you said that you're concerned about kids. Well, we need those kids because we're largely funded by the state, unlike other jurisdictions in Northern Virginia, because of our weak tax base. We need those kids to get more state money. If we don't get the state money, then the pressure's going to fall back on the city budget, which means we're definitely not going to be able to staff the ladder truck. So everything we do here is balanced to try to achieve all of our objectives. It was us who pushed to get a good deal to get the ladder truck back, right? It was us who won a grant to be able to actually staff it now. We have a tight budget right now. We have decisions to make. We're trying to balance between keep lowering tax rates, which if we don't do, you're going to hear a lot more people in here, a lot more residents complaining about that as well. So everything we do is in balance, but if you don't do that development, right, then you're not going to get a public works building or a newer building. You're going to have to renovate the existing building, which good luck. You saw the prices a couple weeks ago about how much it's going to cost to actually renovate that public works building. That would come from existing taxpayer funds, which means you're definitely never going to get a ladder truck. You're never going to be able to staff it. That's just the reality. That's math.
It's not a rebuttal.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment? Okay, seeing no one and hearing no one, we will move on. We have no public hearings, but we do have a proclamation. First, we would like to honor and to recognize an exemplary educator in the Manassas Park City School Division, Mr. Darrell Greene. So we have a proclamation here. I'll go ahead and read it. Whereas Darrell Greene, an 8th grade math teacher at Manassas Park Middle School, was named the Manassas Park Middle School Teacher of the Year and the Manassas Park City Schools Teacher of the Year for 2023-2024 school year, and being named the 2025 Virginia Regional Teacher of the Year, Region 4, by the Virginia Department of Education, VDOE, because of the impact he has on his community, students, and peers. Virginia is blessed with outstanding educators, said Superintendent of Public Instruction Lisa Coons. Mr. Greene strives to collaborate, guide, and positively impact his fellow colleagues and is an exemplary educator who has dedicated his life's work to teaching, said Manassas Park Middle School Principal Kip Gensnieder-Tuttle. And whereas he received his bachelor's in mathematics in 2002 and his bachelor's in education and minor in economics in 2003 from Villanova University. He earned his master's in curriculum and instruction from the University of Phoenix in 2010. Mr. Greene's life forever changed when the new varsity football coach met with him and asked if he wanted to make a positive difference in the world. That meeting was the beginning of Mr. Greene's journey in helping positively shape the future of Manassas Park Middle School students. Mr. Greene has served as a teacher, mentor, and coach for more than 21 years in Manassas Park. Under his leadership in 2016, the Manassas Park Middle School boys basketball team won the regional championship, and in 2017, the girls basketball won the sectional championship. And whereas he possesses an innate ability to inspire and guide students of all backgrounds and abilities to achieve their very best, his passion is fostering a love of learning in the classroom. He creates an inclusive and stimulating environment that encourages his students to make connections to the world around them, making math come alive for students. He challenges middle school math students by giving them real-world math problems, mentors students as a track coach, and has mentored many new teachers in Manassas Park. And whereas he currently serves as Manassas Park Middle School's Math Department Chair, is a member of the leadership team, and has been a mentor teacher since 2015. He is a member of the Manassas Park Education Association and the National Education Association. He's on the board for the nonprofit organization Children Empowered by Love, whose mission is to uplift the self-esteem and broaden the life's vision of at-risk children in foster care settings, orphanages, homeless shelters, and refugee households domestically and abroad. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jeanette Rischel, Mayor of Manassas Park, and on behalf of the Manassas Park governing body, congratulates and recognizes Mr. Darrell Greene for all of his accomplishments and for being named the 2025 Regional Teacher of the Year, Region 4. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. And I'd like all the governing body to please come and get in the picture, either stand there or come here. However you wish. Okay. You want to turn around and face the camera? Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I wasn't really prepared to make a speech or talk, but that's okay. I just want to thank you for all this. I just was really
Can you speak
fortunate.
directly into
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just really happy about this occasion, and once again, it wasn't just me. It's the whole school system that brought me where I am right now. And hopefully, just with this award, it just brings more light to this small school district that we have, and bring more great teachers to our school that continue to educate our kids. So, I really do appreciate this, and thank you.
Well, we appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Mayor, can I say one thing? Mr. Greene, I appreciate what you've done. You had my daughter, Morgan Carrera, in your class, and she always spoke very positive about you and the life experiences you have and what you shared to her. It was really important. And that was an important piece of her that year. I think it was 7th grade education. I know you assisted with track coaching, and it was really important to her, and it meant a lot to her, and she wanted me to tell you thank you. Can I say one thing real quick?
I can.
Can I just say something for 30 seconds? This is something separate, and I apologize, I have to leave early. Mr. Manager, about a month ago, I met with Governor Youngkin and talked to him about your departure and told him what you did. And he wrote a letter of congratulations for you leaving. It's just a paragraph. If I could read, I'd give it to you. I apologize, I have to leave to go to work.
Go ahead.
Dear Mr. Pacco, on behalf of the Commonwealth, congratulations on your stellar service as city manager of the City of Manassas Park over the last 7 years. Since becoming city manager in 2017, you have fulfilled the position with exceptional professionalism and leadership. Not only have your dedicated team transformed the city's financial position, you've also helped implement key economic development initiatives and will deliver vital improvements in the region. Your impressive vision and achievements have helped transform the City of Manassas Park into a thriving community on the path to long-term financial stability and a bright future. As you reflect on your time as city manager, you should be proud of the respect and admiration that you have earned from a grateful community. As a job well done, the First Lady and I joins me thanking you on your commitment to the highest ideals of service. We wish you much success in your next phase in your career and strengthening the spirit of Virginia. So I want to give this to you. It just came today, so it's from the governor. It's national signature from them. So thank you. Thank you. I gotta go now.
Okay. Our next proclamation is to proclaim April 2024 as Fair Housing Month in the city of Manassas Park, and we want to thank the Prince William Realtors Association for requesting this. Thank you. Whereas Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, known as the Fair Housing Act, was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson on April 11, 1968, with the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination by direct providers of housing, such as landlords and real estate companies, as well as other entities such as municipalities, banks, or other lending institutions, and homeowners insurance companies whose discriminatory practices make housing unavailable to persons because of race, color, religion, sex, including sexual orientation and gender identity, familial status, national origin, disability, sexual orientation, and gender identity, and whereas the City of Manassas Park is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all, and whereas the city's social fabric, economy, health, and environment are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities, and whereas more than 50 years after the Fair Housing Act was signed into law, discrimination persists, and whereas continued acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal opportunity are illegal and run contrary to common sense, decency, and fairness. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jeanette Rischel, Mayor of the City of Manassas Park, Virginia, and on behalf of the Manassas Park governing body, hereby proclaim and recognize the month of April 2024 as Fair Housing Month in the city, and call to the attention of our residents that our city is an inclusive community committed to fair housing and to encouraging appropriate activities by both public and private entities to provide and advocate for equal housing opportunities for all current and prospective residents of the city. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. We have with us this evening Ms. Chrissi Topoleski, President of the Prince William Realtors, and Mr. John DiBiase, Government Affairs Directors for the Prince William Realtors. So let me this to you.
Thank you very much for recognizing Fair Housing Act 1968 today, the anniversary. It's evolved over the years to represent the changing demographics of our nation. So it was designed to prohibit discrimination in housing based on 9 attributes of clients: race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, sexual orientation, gender identity, and national origin. But additionally, Virginia's Fair Housing Law adds the source of funds and status as a veteran to the list of protected groups. As realtors, our members abide by a strict code of ethics. This requires adherence to the Fair Housing Act and an unwavering commitment to offering equal professional services to all consumers who are searching for real property. Manassas Park is a diverse and inclusive community, but we must recognize that housing discrimination persists, and as realtors, we must be steadfast in upholding our law, our code of ethics, and to educate both our members and consumers. And we thank you very much for recognizing us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you're all more than welcome to stay with us for the rest of the evening, but we understand if you have other things that you need to do. But thank you very much. Okay, next we have Moving on to information, we have Freedom Month celebration. Okay.
Good evening. So I wanted to talk to you guys about all the fun events that we have scheduled for what we consider our Freedom Month, which is May 24th through July 6th, 2024. We start with our Memorial Day flag lowering that we had last year. That'll be at 1 o'clock on the plaza on Friday, May 24th, so the Friday right before Memorial Day weekend. Then the following Friday, we will have our last Friday, graduates take over the plaza. That is actually the Friday before Manassas Park High School's graduation. So we wanted an opportunity to celebrate the graduates, but also give the parents and family members in town something to do. Then on Wednesday, June 5th, we'll have our Pride flag raising on the plaza at 7 p.m. Then Friday, June 14th, from 6 to 9 p.m., we'll have the Juneteenth celebration, again on the plaza. Then we have our Veterans Dinner on Thursday, June 27th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Community Center. And then finally, we'll have our Independence Day celebration on Saturday, July 6th, 2024, from 4 to 10 p.m. at Signal Hill Park. And then to highlight some of what we have planned for each of those activities. For the Memorial Day flag lowering ceremony, we will have a singing of the national anthem by a local musician or a group. We're still trying to coordinate exactly who will be doing the singing of the national anthem. Speeches by elected officials and veteran service organizations, so you should probably expect an email from me shortly seeing who's interested in speaking at that event. We'll have taps players like we did last year. The Manassas Park Fire and PD Honor Guard will be there. And then we will serve light refreshments out on the plaza. For last Friday, graduates take over the plaza. We'll have food trucks, adult beverage vendors, but also mocktails, so fake adult beverages for the children or for the graduates, music, and then the splash pad will be open. For the Pride flag raising, again 7 o'clock on the plaza. Speeches by elected officials, perhaps a speech by Equality Prince William. I still need to coordinate that. We'll have it streamed on Facebook, and then we'll raise the Pride flag. It'll be flown with the city flag, so it'll be underneath the city flag on the pole, starting on June 1st, but then we'll ceremoniously raise it again on the 5th. The Juneteenth celebration. So first off, we'll have the Naylor Cemetery event from 1 to 2 p.m. with the brand new sign unveiling and then the wreath laying. That event will be live streamed on Facebook. We will be sending an invitation to the Naylor family, and then an opportunity for speeches by the Naylor family. And then on the plaza, we'll have the celebration very similar to last year. Hopefully the weather holds out this year and we can have it outside, but if not, I feel like it was well received here indoors last year. But vendors and food trucks, performances, speeches by elected officials, and then also live streamed on Facebook. We are hoping to have Kofi, the gentleman in the picture, back again this year. We've reached out to him, so just trying to coordinate that. The Veterans Appreciation Dinner will be 6 to 8 p.m. in the banquet hall. Again, we'll have a singer come sing the national anthem, still working on that. Dinner is going to be provided by Mission Barbecue, so it will be a catered dinner by Mission Barbecue. We'll have the opportunity for speeches by elected officials. The Manassas Park Fire and PD Honor Guard will be on that evening. We will have the Pal Mia table, a champagne toast. We do plan to have Veterans Appreciation Challenge coins created that are custom, and then certificates like we gave out last year. And then we will be limiting the attendance to this to 110, the first 110 to RSVP. Last year, we opened it up only to Manassas Park veterans. We just didn't have a large turnout, so this year we're going to open it up to veterans within the community. We have already sent out, saved the dates to veteran service organizations in the area, letting them know about this event and the Memorial Day flag lowering, so it is on their calendar, so we're hoping we'll get better turnout this year. And then finally, our Independence Day celebration. We'll have parking in the grass lot, but then also parking at the VRE and buses that will drive people over here over to Signal Hill. We do plan to have a stage and 2 bands. The band is the Glenn Shelton Band, and then the other one is Junk Food. We have kids train ride attraction, and that will be $3 a person. Still working out if that's going to be something that we're going to pay and then the riders pay us, or if they'll just pay the vendor directly. Some of the logistics we're working out with that, but then bouncy houses and a rock wall, the price on that for the customer is to be determined. We have RC car racing, and that's kind of a free demo by a local hobby shop. Pony rides will be free to riders. That's something that we're funding. And then we're hoping to have a beer garden where we're only going to serve beer, no wine or liquor this year. We kind of want to start low and maybe build up in future years should it go smoothly. And then lots of food trucks, not just ice cream and dessert trucks, but we're looking at substantial meal trucks, especially if we're going to have adult beverages and bands and stuff like that. We think having more food type trucks are important. Melissa's been doing a great job kind of recruiting them and getting them on board to come out. And then approximately 9:15 we'll launch the fireworks. Important to note, we do plan to cut off alcohol sales between 8:45 and 9 o'clock. We haven't worked out the logistics on that, but definitely long enough before the fireworks go off so that people have some time to sober up before departing the park. Obviously, we don't want them driving regardless, but giving them some time to, work that through. And that's all I have on the Freedom Month.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you. Comments or questions? No? Comment? Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the beer garden, will the folks drinking the alcohol beverages be restricted to certain, be maintained, I don't know how, corralled in a certain area?
Great question. We've toyed back and forth with, you have to designate a specific area as the beer garden on your ABC permit. We had toyed around with creating the whole, or generating the whole park, or basically designating the whole park as the beer garden, but due to safety reasons and to just kind of keep things more simple this year, we are designating a certain spot as the beer garden. It is rather large and it does include the stage, and people who aren't participating in drinking alcohol can still enter the beer garden area. It's just, we wanted to make sure that we kept it in a more limited space this year.
So the people who are drinking don't wander all over the park?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And how are you
Well,
keeping?
they can go to it, it's just not with the drinks,
Okay.
right? So you're there to drink and then you can enjoy the festivities. Yeah.
Okay.
So there will be food trucks in that beer garden area, but then there'll be a second set of food trucks that's not in the beer garden area, just, in case people don't want to be around the alcohol, stuff like that, line reasons. So we have two different areas with beer gardens.
Thank you.
Are they going to be carrying like any identification that they're over 21 to be able to drink? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and then we have, plans, and we're going to go to the next slide show that I had is about the sponsorship. One of our sponsorship packages includes sponsoring the beer garden, in which case they would have specific cups that, like plastic reusable type cups that'll eliminate, reduce trash, hopefully give them a keepsake. It's a marketing item, but it also helps us visually see that they have one of our cups and are able to drink. The other challenge is kind of differentiating who would be bringing alcohol into the park and us not catching them versus those that purchased it legally. So one other part of our beer garden is that we're going to buy cans of beer and pour it into the cup and give them the cup, not the can, for trash reasons, but also that way, again, it's easy to identify who is allowed to drink the alcohol.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much, Sarah. Are you also up for event sponsorship packages?
I am.
Okay.
Well, long time no see. So I wanted to talk about our event sponsorship program. This is to help offset some of the costs of our special events, but also to build some partnerships between businesses and companies in the area. So we want to do this as a fiscal year initiative. So each fiscal year we'll designate which special events we have and want to have sponsorship packages with. So this one that I'm proposing is for this upcoming fiscal year, FY25. So we would start with our Independence Day celebration because that is the first special event that we have in the new fiscal year. We would have two of our tier one, which are $7,000. Two are available. Each one of those it would depend on what, who signed up first and kind of determining which area they get to call their sponsorship area. But you have the stage as a sponsorship area, so they would have naming rights to the stage or the fireworks display. So as we were promoting the events, we would say, you know, Glenn Shelton Band will be on the Sarah Barnett's Cheesecake Company stage, and that would be how that would be presented. And then the fireworks, you know, presented by Keith's Motorcycle Club. And you know, that would be how that would be presented that way. We would have display banners on the stage, speaking opportunity on the stage for that level. Logo would be on the souvenir beer garden cups. Logo placement on all event promotional materials. Recognition on the event webpage. Sponsorship recognition in the Parks and Rec and the city newsletter. Live public acknowledgement during the event. Logo on the event staff t-shirt. And then display ad, a half page in the upcoming fall mosaic, which is the Parks and Rec program guide. Then our tier 2, again, we have 2 of those available. One of those would be for the beer garden, and the other one would be for the children's activities. If we're able to get those filled, then a lot of the children's activities would be at a much lower cost to the consumer, you know, potentially free. The issue with free and large crowds is then you have large lines, so we may have to, you know, figure that out. But again, it would be the beer garden sponsored by, you know, enter a company's name there. I can't be any more creative than I already have tonight, but you get the gist. And then on-site booth at the event, display banner on the stage, naming rights to the beer garden or the children's activities, logo on the souvenir beer garden cups, company logo and sponsor recognition in social media posts, recognition on event webpage or company links, sponsorship recognition in the Parks and Rec and the city newsletters, live public acknowledgement during the event, and then a quarter page ad in the upcoming fall mosaic. And then the tier 3 is, you know, the lowest level one. It's only $750, and there's unlimited availability with those. They would be allowed to have an on-site booth at the event, display banner on the event that would be provided by the company, whereas the other 2 tier levels we would purchase the banner. This one we would ask them to bring us one. And then recognition on the event webpage. So for last Fridays, this would be sponsorship packages per last Friday that we have. We usually have last Fridays that go from March to October, so this would start for the July last Friday of 2024, because that's in FY25. So tier 1, $1,500, one available per event, on-site booth in a prominent location, speaking opportunity at the event, live public acknowledgement during the event, banner that would be provided by the company at the event, and then sponsorship listed on the webpage, social media, and event promotional materials. Then we have the tier 2. We have 2 of those available as well. That's $750. On-site booth, live public acknowledgement during the event, banner again provided by the company but would be displayed, and then sponsorship listed on the event webpage and on social media. And then tier 3 is $500 with 4 available on-site booth, live public acknowledgement during the event, and banner at the event. A newer special event that we have upcoming this July is drive-in movies. These drive-in movies would be in the VRE lot. We've already discussed that with the VRE and you know, the ability to have them there. They're definitely excited to have that. So these sponsorship packages are per event. We don't know what movies we're playing yet for these drive-in movies, but you know, we're getting there. So for tier 1, $4,000, we allow 1 per event, on-site booth in a prominent location. They would be listed as the presenting sponsor on all promotional materials, webpage, and the social media. Banner near the movie screen, recognition on the event webpage and social media link to the company, sponsorship recognition in the Parks and Rec and city newsletters, and then whatever the next mosaic is that will be after the event, they would get a quarter page ad included in the mosaic. And then tier 2, there would be 2 available per date. On-site booth, banner near the movie screen, recognition on event webpage and social media with link to the company, logo on promotional materials, and then sponsorship recognition in the Parks and Rec and city newsletters. All right, these are for our Plaza special events, and these include an International Food Festival, which is going to be new this year, and then Halloween and Dickens Festival. I did not include Community Day, which, quick plug, we have this Saturday. But the reason I didn't include that is that Yvette already has a sponsorship program for that, and so I just didn't want to mess with something that was already working well for her. So for the Plaza special events, Tier 1, $1,500, one is available per event. On-site booth, speaking opportunity, live public acknowledgement, display banner that would be provided by the company at the event, sponsorship listed on the event webpage, social media, and promotional materials. Then Tier 2 is $750, and there are 2 available per event. Again, on-site booth, live public acknowledgement during the event, a banner could be displayed that they've provided, and then sponsorship listed on event page and social media. And finally, Tier 3, $500, 4 available per event, on-site booth, live public acknowledgement during the event, and then the banner could be displayed at the events. All right, for our Parks and Rec special events, this would be glow in the park after dark, bonfire bash, breakfast with Santa, egg hunts, the kite festival, and the chalk festival. These are again per event. So Tier 1 is $500. There's 1 available per event. Table at the event, live public acknowledgement, display the banner that will be provided by the company, sponsorship listed on the webpage, social media, and promotional materials. Tier 2, $250. There would be 2 available per event. Live public acknowledgement, banner, sponsorship listed on the event webpage and social media. Carriage rides, another new activity that we had planned. This would be at Signal Hill Park. We already have them contracted for November 17th and 24th from 1 to 4 p.m. This is a free event to the public, so they have to come get in line and hope that there's, that they'll get a turn. So that we just would have the carriage sponsored. It's just one event, one sponsor for both days, and that would be $4,000. The sponsorship includes both dates, an on-site table at the event, display the company banner at the event. We would provide the banner. They would be advertised as the presenting sponsor, logo and sponsorship recognition in event social media posts, recognition in the Parks and Recreation and City newsletters, and then a half-page ad in the winter mosaic. And then the light parade and the viewing party are, one of our bigger events as well. We have a Tier 1, be $5,000, with 2 of those available where they would be the presenting sponsors. One would be the presenting sponsor for the light parade. The other would be the presenting sponsor for the viewing party that we have down here on the plaza. Each includes an on-site booth at the viewing party, speaking opportunity on the stage, display the company banner on the stage, again advertised as presented by for either the parade or the viewing party, logo placement on event promotional materials, company logo and sponsor recognition in social media posts, sponsorship recognition in the Parks and Rec and City newsletters, live public acknowledgement during the event. And then if they chose to have a float, they would need to provide the float, but they would be given a prominent location in the float lineup. Most people either prefer to be one of the first floats or the one right before Santa. Those are the ones that gain the most awe, I guess. So, but we would work with the sponsor to figure out which one they were amenable to. And then again, they would get just a half-page ad in the spring mosaic. Tier 2 is $2,500. 2 of those are available. They would get an on-site booth at the viewing party, banner at the event, company logo and sponsor recognition in social media posts, recognition in event webpage and with company link, sponsorship recognition in the Parks and Rec and City newsletter, live public acknowledgement during the event, and then again a quarter-page display ad in the spring mosaic. And then finally, Tier 3, we have unlimited availability. We have $500 with an on-site booth, live public acknowledgement during the event, display of their banner, again provided by them, and then sponsorship listed on the event webpage. And then for Freedom Month events next year, because at this point we're behind the ball and can't do it this year, but for next year, for Memorial Day, the Pride flag raising, Juneteenth, and Veterans events, we have 2 different options per event. For Tier 1, we have $1,000, again 1 per event. On-site booth at the event, live public acknowledgement during the event, banner provided by the company can be displayed, sponsorship listed on the event webpage and on social media and on event promotional materials. And then Tier 2 is $500 with 4 available per event with live public acknowledgement during the event, display of the company banner provided by them at the event, and then sponsorship listed on the event webpage and on the social media posts. Then new would be the summer reading program, which the library has every summer, but they would love to have some donations from the community. So theirs are a little bit different because monetary donations are helpful, but also in-kind donations are really helpful as well. So for tier one, $1,000 is the monetary amount for that one, or in-kind donations valued up to $3,000. They would get an on-site table at any or all of the 3 events, which they have 3 events during the summer reading program. They have the kickoff party, the midway party, and the end of summer bash. Live public acknowledgement at each event, display the company banner at each event, as long as they provide the banner, and then sponsorship listed on the webpage, social media, and promotional materials. Tier 2 is $750 with in-kind donations valued at up to $2,000. That would be an on-site table at one of the 3 events, and they would, we would work with them to figure out which one they wanted to be at. Live public acknowledgement at the event, display the company banner at their event, and then sponsorship listed on the program webpage, social media, and promotional materials. And then finally, tier 3 would be $500, or in-kind donations valued up to $1,000, and they would get live public acknowledgement at each event, display the company banner at each event, and then sponsorship listed on the program webpage, social media posts, and promotional materials. Workout Wednesdays, this is available every other Wednesday, weather permitting, from April through October. This would be April 2025 through October 2025. Tier 1 is $1,000. There would be 1 available. The company banner would be at each workout with the company providing the banner. They would be listed as the presented by, so Workout Wednesday presented by, insert company name, on promotional materials and social media. And then logo on the water bottles that we would have available at each workout, and then table space at each workout if they wanted to come and set up a table. Tier 2 is $500. We would have 2 available. Company banner at each workout, and then sponsorship listed on promotional flyers, and they could choose up to 3 workout dates to attend and set up a table. And that's all we have.
Thank you, that's great. That's a lot of events. Yeah.
Lots of talking, but any questions?
Yeah, we're a busy city, yeah. Comments or questions? No?
Great idea.
No?
Questions?
Comments or questions?
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
All right.
Nice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of approval of the minutes of April 2nd, 2024, and approval of and adoption of an ordinance amending Division 2 exemption for the elderly and disabled of Article 2 tax and real property of Chapter 22 taxation of the Code of the City of Manassas Park, Virginia, to increase the total combined income by $10,000 and to increase the net combined financial wealth to $175,000 for eligible taxpayers to qualify for the real estate tax exemption as presented.
Second.
Did we have a second?
I did.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to, there's no unfinished business. Moving on to Westnet alert system for the fire station. 11A. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the governing body. Tonight what I have for you is for the fire department, we're trying to upgrade our Westnet system. Well, really not upgrade it, but replace it. Back in 2004, when the fire station was built, we were the first department in Northern Virginia to go to Westnet system, which is an alerting system that's tied into the communications center, which alerts the men and women in the station of the calls. Well, here we are in 2024, and that system is no longer supported by the IT technology. So back in FY23, we started this program trying to get it upgraded. And at the cost of $140,000 was the quote back in FY23. So we decided that we was going to look into a remodel of the fire station. So we took a lot of projects from FY23, rolled them into one big pile, moved them in FY24, waiting to see what was going to happen with the fire station remodel, which didn't come to fruition because it's $3 million. So now we're going to try to pull those back apart and try to get all these things to the finish line. The one issue we ran into with the Westnet is that it was originally quoted at 140. Today it's quoted at 188,107. So we're proposing that the extra funds of $48,107 be pulled out of the savings that we had from our bay doors that were approved about a month ago. Those were quoted at $275 originally. We got them done for $140,000. So there's a big savings there. We'd like to pull some of that money out of that pot of money to finish up the Westnet system. The Westnet system would be pretty critical for us to handle business. So the staff recommendation would be for the governing body to authorize the city manager to make all the requested budget transfers and to sign the agreement with Westnet with all documents subject to final review of the city attorney.
Okay.
All those documents have been sent to Dean. So.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Any comments or questions? Comments? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I saw on the first page, there's a 2-year annual maintenance cost. Is that just replacing something that we already pay for the old system?
Correct.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other questions? Councilmember Javed? No. Okay. The recommended motion is that the governing body approve and authorize the city manager to sign an agreement with Westnet Incorporated to upgrade the city's emergency 911 station alerting system as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, Manassas Drive Corridor Study. And that's, welcome, Calvin.
Good evening, Mayor Rischel, Vice Mayor Mensing, members of council, residents, staff, and guests. I'm Calvin Odell, the Director of Community Development. I'm here to present to you tonight the result of the proposals for the Manassas Drive Corridor Safety Study. We issued a task order request for this to all of our on-call consultants on February 22nd, 2024. Their proposals were due back March 21st, 2024. We had 5 firms respond to that request for proposals, and their proposals were asked to address the reassessment of existing speed zones, including new speed data collection, the speed analysis at 22 separate intersections along Manassas Drive, compilation of accident data at those 22 intersections, a detailed analysis of speed and accident data from Denver to Colfax, where we've heard that accident rates are very high, and then PED crossing recommendations and additional traffic control measure recommendations along the corridor. Then to look at the possibility of reversing the one-way directionality of Scott Drive to prevent cut-through traffic from so readily accessing OCR. And then an evaluation of the Polk and OCR intersection, which is also another dangerous intersection that's probably complicated by people trying to cut through to Manassas Drive. And then concept drawings for any traffic calming measures that they would recommend. And then a summary of signalization data and recommendation for improvement, that any opportunity for interconnection of signals, signal coordination, things like that. And then an exploration of road diets along the corridor to help slow vehicles down. And we also asked them to specifically consider the data that was collected during 18 recent and prior studies that have been conducted, transportation studies along the corridor, or that at least touched the corridor. Of the firms that responded, one of the firms addressed all of these issues in their proposal and addressed the 18 studies specifically, and then came in with the low bid. Their bid was at $91,700, and that was Wallace Montgomery. So staff recommends that we proceed with Wallace Montgomery at that price, and from notice to proceed, we would hope that they would have completion of this study within 6 months.
Okay, thank you, Calvin. Comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
I saw in the response that they would have it completed in 6 months from the time we initiated. When do we think that we would initiate their services?
So, generally to get a contract back and forth between the attorneys, we hope that it's 2 weeks to a month at the max. So
So
But-
before June, probably?
Yeah, but there's always, once the attorneys get a hold of it, they don't always agree on the agreement language, but we've
Right.
worked with Wallace Montgomery before, so there shouldn't be any such issues on this, so hopefully it's a very quick turnaround for the agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Comments or questions? Okay. The recommended staff motion is that the governing body approve and authorize the city manager to sign a task order with Wallace Montgomery and Associates LLP for a Manassas Drive corridor study as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to purchase of building for Community Development Department, the public hearing having been held on April 9th.
Yeah, I have nothing to add from the public hearing, just thankful to be at this point,
Okay.
to be talking about getting a building filing for the Community Development Department.
Okay. Any last minute? Yes, ma'am.
Questions? So a couple questions for you, Laszlo. If the purchase goes through, how long before we move into the building?
Yeah, so, sorry, turn this off. So it's going to depend. We're going to have to evaluate kind of the open spaces, right? My recommendation has been you wait 3 years, right? Collect the revenues, the lease revenues, allow for the development to occur, collect all those revenues before you do any renovations. If there are spaces that are already ready to go, right, for the Public Works team to move in, that are open and ready for use, then by all means they can utilize that. But if it requires renovation, my recommendation from a fiscal responsibility standpoint is to wait for the development to occur, collect that money so you know you have the money to do renovations without impacting the city budget. So 3 years would be kind of the...
So 2027?
Sure.
Okay. Will that building that they're now working out of last that long?
That's going to be the struggle, but I don't think we have a choice at this point. If we need to, right? If it's the will of the body to terminate leases sooner and do the renovation sooner, that's your all's discretion. I advise against it simply because of our fiscal position.
Well, it's revenue right now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Follow up? No. Okay. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
You have
Thank you. Sorry, I wasn't here last, so I just had a couple questions regarding the public hearing last week. Well, first, I'm a little baffled why we're, I guess, dipping into the general funds and the water sewer fund. Because I thought that was like a do not enter type of zone, right? And now all of a sudden we are okay dipping into those funds. And I think Councilmember Hampton brought up a good point last meeting, saying if this does not go forward, guess what? Now we lost $3 billion of tax money from the residents, right? Second thing, I mean, we raised the water fee, last year? Right? And now we're taking the money out, we don't reimburse it back. Guess what? We're gonna increase the water fee again. And I think Madam Mayor, you mentioned that residents complain about our water fee. So again, I mean, I think, we just need to take a little pause and kind of reevaluate the development going into the funds. I mean, the cost between a rebuild and the purchase plus renovation costs are not that far off. I mean, I think the best option for this is to table it until we have a work session in place, because there's a lot of money and a lot of unknowns still that I'm not comfortable voting on tonight.
So a couple points. If the development doesn't occur, you're right, there are some negative financial impacts, but you're going to incur those financial impacts regardless. You're going to have to deal with the building eventually. And again, every department has gotten their building except for the Community Development Department. And when you go interact with them and see all the work they do, the thankless work that they do when they're out there in the winter dealing with water breaks and freezing cold, try to be wet dealing with freezing cold. I had to do it in the Army, not fun. Our guys had to do it when they're dealing with that. The trash situation they have to deal with. The thankless work that our code enforcement officers have to do. They're going out there citing people trying to clean up the city, right? And that's the one department that has been shortchanged. And when I interacted with them when I started here, my promise was I was not going to let that happen. We were going to take care of them as well. We value all of our employees, and all of them deserve a building, a new building, just like every department has gotten, every school has gotten in the 2000s. It's their turn as well to get that. And either way, if you don't do this, if you don't go, you're right, if the development doesn't happen, you're going to have negative ramifications. So the goal is to, again, push the development through, have it paid for by the development, so it doesn't impact taxpayers. That's the goal. But either way, you're going to have to address this situation at one moment or the other. This was the more viable option. This building, right, had the necessary parking, had the necessary space that the existing site does not have. So that was the purpose of the ad tech study. So you can table this all you want, but at the end of the day, this reality is going to come by and get you. You're going to have to deal with the facility situation eventually. This is the prime time to do this. We've structured this right with the timing of the development. So you take kind of a short-term borrowing this fiscal year, right, and you get the money next year. But you're absolutely right. If the development is not approved, you're right. Then there's going to be some negative financial ramifications, but that's going to be up to you all to kind of make that decision.
Well, we also had a significant discussion about all the negatives with the old building. There could be asbestos, there could be other hazardous materials. It's in a floodplain. We would have to do a floodplain assessment, environmental assessment. There's a number of factors that go against keeping the old location. Plus, as you said, not enough parking. So this should not be tabled. We need to move forward.
Might I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Councilmember Carrera is not here. So I think since this is such a large decision, perhaps we wait until next week when he's back. I think that would be only fair. I mean, unfortunately, he's got a work emergency and had to leave. So I think that would be the fairest thing. That would also give us some time to Councilmember Javed's point, to kind of take a step back, kind of think things, give us a little bit of a breathing room.
Well, there's no guarantee that we'll have 7 of us here next week. I mean,
True.
Any one of us could have some type of an emergency.
True, but you know, this
Yeah.
was a work emergency.
Right.
So unfortunately, he can't even call in.
But there's all kinds of emergencies, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I agree. I mean, a decision like this, we should have a full body present. I mean, I agree with that. Second, the cost for the rebuild was 22 million?
24, I think.
Or, because you mentioned it was like 7.5 somewhere. And I see 22 million, then I see 12 million. What's the number?
The 12 million.
12 million would be if it's just Calvin's department. The 22 million is also all the school stuff and the city hall annex and additional fire offices as well. My recommendation again at the last meeting was you start with the community development department, that 12 million, right, if you go that rebuild route.
Right.
And that site, I don't think you're ever going to be able to accommodate the other resources. So you're going to have to build another building then for schools, for the facilities and transportation. That's going to be another liability you're going to have to figure out how to pay for. That site just doesn't work. It only works for Calvin's department, and that's even, you won't have even the right parking ratios, and the mayor's right, you're going to have to do additional environmental studies there as well. It's a lot more burdensome to do it, but the 22 million again is community development department plus schools, facilities and transportation facilities, plus the city hall annex and the additional fire administrative offices, which I don't think is feasible in the existing public works building site.
Well, just doing Calvin's department is 12 million.
Mm-hmm.
The purchase and renovation at digital is 11 million.
Just about,
Right.
yeah.
So there's only $1 million difference where we could figure that out, but
But then look at the price tag for adding the schools, right? It's not that much,
right.
14.7.
I mean, speaking on that, I mean, I would like to hear from the schools themselves. Like,
Sure.
we haven't had one presentation about what their needs are regarding this.
It's
and-
been
and-
the CIP the last few years. They
It
removed
has,
because
I
of-
know we have, but I have not heard their, if there's a sense of urgency with them regarding this project. And the cost almost doubles because we're adding that project. So, I mean, I would like to hear from them.
Well, not for the digital drive building. It doesn't double.
I mean, the rebuild,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Regarding the school's needs, and if there's other options on the table, or is this the only avenue they're looking at, right? I mean, they have to evaluate some other options if this one did not go through? Because you're betting on the development for the schools and for Calvin's department.
Well, I'm not betting on the development. I'm saying you should approve the development to come up with the money to pay for this, because if you don't, you're going to have to pay for it from
Right,
general fund
right,
tax.
yeah, I mean, like we did here in City Hall, right, I understand the concept, but it's no guarantee, you know what I'm saying, it's a guarantee in the future.
You're right, exactly. Rezoning is not a guarantee.
Exactly.
But it's highly recommended. It's going to be in your hands to work with the developer to make sure it gets through rezoning. So
Yeah.
it kind of is in your hand to get done.
Yeah. There's a
And
lot
and
of.
no one's arguing the
There's a
bill-
lot of things where there's no guarantees,
Right,
right? A lot of things in life.
I mean, we're putting $3 million on,
Well, we've
I
dealt
know
with, we have dealt with those numbers before,
and,
yeah.
you know, this was
This
self-sufficient.
is not the first time we've dealt with big numbers.
Well, this is the first time we're using taxpayer money now, right? We haven't used it in this development. We had a development pay for it. Now we're dipping into taxpayer money. So now I'm going to be a little more cautious and take my time evaluating. Plus, we're dipping into the general fund account now. And I'm baffled about that, how we came across dipping into there when we just had a discussion about that a couple weeks ago, but, and second of all, I'm not arguing. The Calvin's department needs this building. We could rebuild it. If you want a development, so then the purchase is necessary, put the money into the rebuild. But, I mean, I'm not gonna go on and on. I think we're just rushing into this, and I think we need to just take a pause, have a full body, and just reevaluate.
Excuse me.
Madam Mayor?
I'd like to hear from others on the,
Sure.
on the days.
She's asking for.
I think there's a.
Can you speak into your microphone?
I know there's a question there. I'm still thinking.
Oh, you're still thinking?
Yes, yes,
Okay, okay, yes, ma'am.
So as we were discussing this, and one of the reasons why I asked how soon we would be moving in, if we're not going to be moving into 3 years, then I think we have the ability, to Councilmember Javette's point, to take a beat, take a moment, and not rush into it. You know, at this point, what's another few, I'm not talking 6 months, but what's another few weeks to kind of do our due diligence? That's my thought.
Just one concern with that, I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but right now we have a negotiated agreement with a private property owner who at any moment, who's being very impatient because this was supposed to be done a few months ago, but we decided to do the ad tech study. We asked for more time. At any moment, they can walk away, and then your only option is adversarial at that point. Right now, we have a good relationship. They weren't necessarily looking to sell this property, but they understood it's a public component, right? So they negotiated with us in good faith. At any moment, that owner can walk away from this deal.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I agree with you. And plus, I would just like to point out that even before this was public, we've been talking about acquiring this building since I got on council, going on 8 years now. So this is not rushed. We've thought about it. We've talked about it in closed. We've talked about it in private sessions. We've talked about it openly. And I think that the time and the contract is in place. I would like to go forward with the purchase of the building. And I agree with holding off on terminating the leases for
Yeah.
Laszlo's recommendation.
Yeah.
No, but we didn't know about the general funds. We didn't know about the water sewer fund. We didn't know about the development.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
It was in the budget.
No, it was 8 years ago, I'm saying. This is new.
It was in the budget last year, in the FY24 approved budget.
Going to general fund? Well, I apologize if I missed that, but.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm going to support the city manager's recommendation. I think we should move forward. As the vice mayor has said, we've been discussing this for quite a long time. Our Public Works Community Service Department needs a new building. I want to highlight what the mayor has said. We have, as estimated, $12 million for rebuild, but we know it's going to be much more than that because of the environmental needs of that property. We don't know what's going to take place in that, but we know it's going to be costly.
Yeah.
And it's going to take time. And then the fact that it's on a floodplain should give us pause right there. You don't rebuild a piece of property on a floodplain.
Right.
So I think we need to move forward,
Yeah.
take advantage of the negotiation that our city manager has done, and let's just make it work for our employees so that they have a comfortable, safe place to work. We all want a safe place to work. And the place that they're working now has been a fire station, it's been a police station, it's been everything, and it's outlived its usefulness. And yes, it's a risk. Everything we do on this dais is a risk.
Yeah.
And hopefully things will work out to our advantage, and that's what we work to strive for. I just think we can't just continue to delay, because if we lose this prospect, then people are talking about eminent domain. That's the wrong thing to do.
Right.
It's adversarial. I don't want to do an eminent domain claim. And so I think we need to go with something that we've negotiated, and let's just move forward with the purchase of this property.
Yeah. Thank you. Councilmember Amaya?
I think I'm in the position that Councilmember Javed is in. I know that you have been discussing this since you guys were council, but it just seems that the development, it's connected to development, and the development, I don't understand. We've had discussions about how it's going to work, how it's going to look. I don't think we have enough. We haven't talked through it as we should have yet. I think we do need to discuss it a little more. I know that it's going to take 3 years for us to even start building. When are they going to start building if we actually sign the agreement? When does the development begin?
After the rezoning?
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately. I mean, they have to then finalize, just like, so for a good timeline, right, the Norton Scott agreement was approved in the summer of 2020, right? And look how far we are, right? They've already accomplished a lot. So this is a much smaller project as well. And these are rentals, they aren't for sale, so they're gonna build them a lot quicker. There's not, and when you're going for sales, right, you're kind of staggering it to kind of match kind of the market demand. For rentals, there's tremendous demand right now. There's no other product to compete with that product type in our city. All of our apartments right now are studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, a handful of 2 bedrooms with a den, right, that you can call a 3 bedroom. It's really not a 3 bedroom, right? This is a unique product for the market, and it's hard to find rental options like this for families. So the gentleman earlier was right. It's probably going to attract some families, but that's not a bad thing for us right now. And these are families that probably can't afford a mortgage right now, especially with interest rates that need rental options. And the apartments, I can speak from personal experience, they don't give you the space for that. The existing portfolio that we have.
I think we've had plenty of discussion about this. Plus, as you said, it was in the FY24 CIP.
I did the town halls this summer as well. I engaged with residents about the development, about this building as well. There was, good participation. So.
Yeah. I mean, we've had plenty of time to think about it. I mean, I don't know, maybe all of us don't read the CIP, but it was there. So.
I mean, the thing is that we're not just talking about just the development either. We're bringing on 1,500 units in the next 5 years. And now we're talking about a hiring freeze. Our departments are understaffed. How can you grow a city, like the gentleman this earlier said, and not provide the services for the residents? That's just setting up yourself for failure.
Yeah. In this current tax base that can't sustain the current status. You need to grow your tax base, get a bigger economies of scale, have more people paying to the existing debt.
So that's why it makes sense to focus on one development, right? This downtown here. Get all our developments in place, get that online 100%, minus the commercial, just do the residential, right? That'll give you a proven concept for these other 2-3 developments we're talking about that are tied into these CIPs.
But this residential is tied to this development, and this is the one that came most quickly to be done.
Right.
The other developments are a little bit further out, so when we talk about timing, the D.R. Horton's ahead of the game from everyone else. They already have a purchase sale agreement with the city. They've already started.
Yeah, I'm sure, they'll get on pretty quick, because residential,
and that's what we
rentals
need to
especially.
risk. Right?
And plus, the purchase sale agreement is not going anywhere. If they agree to sell, they're gonna agree to sell. I mean, they could wait a couple weeks. It's not like, oh, we didn't decide tonight, and they're gonna just turn it off. I do sales as a living. I mean, if they negotiated this far, they're not walking away from the table.
Well, we have a good deal before us. Why not move forward with this?
Because, like I said, I need a little more a work session to discuss the general fund, $2 million, the 1.5 from the water sewer fund, the water sewer rate, the 1,500 units that's coming on. the understaffed
This is-
departments.
This is how, this is an investment. This is how we're growing our tax base.
Right.
Why didn't you ask about that in closed session?
Which good, about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
The general fund, I just found out about that last meeting, the public hearing. It wasn't discussed in this closed session.
I just have a question. So I know that we've spoken at length about this, and in the past you've said that the person who owns it wasn't for sale.
It's not for sale.
So this isn't like, this could be retracted. He doesn't need to sell this
They
right
don't
now.
have to sell this, no. He doesn't have to sell it.
What's
I
your,
mean, Councilmember DiBiase's probably right, you probably can't wait 2 more weeks or something like that, but he's under the expectation that we're gonna make a decision here soon. And I wouldn't mess around with that expectation of someone who's negotiated in good faith with us and who's agreed to wait for the ad tech study, right? We had this deal negotiated, over a year ago. And, we had to bring it through the CIP process last year. And then in the summer, we had the discussions about it, and then it was, do the ad tech study first, right, to compare. That delayed it more. I had to keep him still open to selling it throughout that process. So we've been really pushing this can down and bringing this person along for a lot longer period than they would expect.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Hasib, is your concern because of this, the proposed what we learned last week, that we're not as, our coffers aren't as robust as they once were,
Right.
and that we're having to dip into, quote unquote, our savings in order to make this happen, and the fact that we're now not as robust, what else are we going to have to dip into the savings?
Right.
Is that part of the concern?
Yes, that's the main concern here. If we're dipping into it, then I could see us dipping into it more. It
Okay.
makes no sense.
Didn't we talk about reserves in closed session? Yeah.
Regarding this,
Yes, we did.
But I think the difference is the,
and you were for that? Because
Wait,
we
so-
talked about different reserves and you were against that.
So just to
So
clarify,
I'm a little confused.
this isn't tapping into reserves this year. It's actually in the budget.
What is the,
Yeah, it's in the CIP, but the difference is, again, with this development, you're right, we never used any CIP money for this building, right?
Right.
But it's all about timing, but it's not like we're tapping into reserves for it. It's a capital project, right, in a balanced budget that was presented last year, right? But the question is, do we want to spend a single dollar of existing CIP on something like this? The answer was no. That's why we have the development that's going to reimburse that. But it's already in the CIP and it's not being pulled from reserves.
Okay. Go ahead.
It's not clear to me what delay brings to us. Like we said, we've discussed this
Yeah.
at length
Yeah.
in closed sessions, in a public hearing that we've conducted,
Yes.
where people could have raised questions. It was clearly presented to us. I'm still wondering what 2 weeks gets us,
Yeah.
Well,
other than the possibility that we might lose the deal. What else does it get us? What question, because the city manager has said this is how he feels it should be paid for. That's his job. He's done his job. So what is the delay? We know we need a new community service public works building. What is the delay? We on this dais, and unfortunately, Councilmember DeVed wasn't here, we all said it didn't make sense to rebuild something that's in a floodplain. We all said it. And that the newer
Yes.
building, it got us more square feet, triple the square feet that the community service, the old building, provides us now. So again, what in 2 weeks, what magical thing is going to happen to us on this dais
Yeah.
that's going to change the situation that is before us?
I think it's just-
Collaboration.
Our budgets are going to be the same,
Yeah.
our reserves are going to be the same. What in 2 weeks is going to tell us it's going to happen? And I have confidence that our city manager, we're not surprising this on the superintendent who was here earlier. I'm sure he's been in conversations with
Yes.
her and with their facilities. He's not doing this in his office saying, this is what I want to do to the city.
Yeah.
He's been very collaborative with
Yeah.
department heads, with directors, and with everybody.
Yeah.
He's, like he said, he went around the city 6 months ago talking about this project. This isn't new, people.
Yeah, he
And
doesn't
this
operate
idea
in
of
a
tactics
vacuum.
of delay
Right.
doesn't
Right.
make sense.
Yeah.
So might
You're absolutely right. What is 2 weeks going to bring to us?
What is it gonna bring us?
I think that unfortunately, our council member at the end was out last week due to a religious holiday.
And
and
that's
so-
why we taped them, so they can watch
I know,
them.
I know.
Oh, okay.
But at the same time, you know, we have a member who has some concerns. I would feel, just like I do at work, let the individual have a little bit more of an opportunity to ask some questions. Maybe not 2 weeks, maybe we do it next Tuesday, make a decision next Tuesday. That's a nice middle ground.
We could
Let's give our-
we could even make a decision via email. You know what I'm saying? This is not the only option.
I'm not sure.
This is not the only option on the table, right? And what 2 weeks brings us is collaboration of, think of another plan.
But with who are
Just in a closed
collaborating
session, I came up with a plan with another closed session item that took me a couple weeks to discuss, right? City manager was on board, governing body was on board. But look, I'm asking, just give me some time to evaluate this and come back with another option.
Yeah,
Because this is not the
I
only
think your
option.
compromise, Councilmember Hampton, makes sense. I
A
could do a
week?
week, but, you know,
We make,
Other than that-
come next Tuesday, we make a decision.
Yep.
One way or another, we make a decision.
Okay, I'm okay
we're
with
gonna
that.
compromise on that.
1 week. 1 week. 1 week.
Next Tuesday.
We have a
Okay.
meeting next Tuesday?
Okay.
Mhm.
We do.
Okay. Providing that Councilmember Javed asks his questions directly to city manager. If you have any concerns, any questions, don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait until
Okay,
we
sure.
get to the meeting next Tuesday
Mhm.
and then start objecting again. Ask your questions.
No, we could take a vote next Tuesday.
We can take a vote next Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll take a vote
Yeah.
next Tuesday.
Okay.
That's fine.
So make sure that
I
all
think a
your
week should be
questions are
fine.
answered. Okay. Dean, is there anything that we need to do to postpone this 1 week? What do we legally need to do?
Really, just say you're just gonna postpone the vote until next week. And there's really nothing, you already had the public hearing, so all legal requirements can take care of, so just go ahead and push it to the next meeting.
Okay, this will be taken up at the next meeting, and Lena put it on the agenda. Okay, thank you.
And just
Okay.
last question though, on this topic, what do you mean by lost tax revenue? That was the other item. Lost tax revenue.
Yeah, so right now, that building is privately owned, so that's going to generate some tax revenue for the city, right? Industrial right now isn't generating a lot of tax revenue, but then you also have an opportunity on the public works side, which the mayor reminded us of last week, to redevelop that and expand Kent Village Square for retail, which delivers much more revenue than industrial. So it should offset.
Okay? Okay, are we done with this topic? Okay. All righty, let's move on. Next is FY25 CIP presentation.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and members of the governing body. Tonight I'm joined by city staff who are here to answer any questions about specific capital projects that you all may have. I'm only going to brief an overview. You've had it, over the weekend to look at as well. Feel free to ask me any questions on the overview. But really, it's really intended more to be a Q&A, give you guys the opportunity to kind of ask any questions about any specific project or kind of our overall position as well. So I'll go over this piece of the agenda, the city manager overview, and then we have what are called backup slides, which is every single project that we're looking at, including I've listed the items that unfortunately we had to defer or cut to get a balanced long-term budget for our CIP. A lot more projects than is custom to cut, but prices just have been going up tremendously, and it's hard to keep up with it with our current tax base. But that's the list of projects, so you guys can look at my recommended CIP. You can look at those items that were cut, and if you want to bring back some of those items, great, but we'll have to remove some of the existing items that are on the budget.
Can is it appropriate for me to ask a generalized budgeting question? Okay. Is that-
Not CIP, or, because I'm going
It's
to, after the
not
CIP.
related to the CIP.
After the CIP, I'm going to go over the general budget.
I'm sorry.
So after we do the CIP, I'm going to talk about the general budget.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Okay. So the overview for the general fund CIP, we have about $146 million over 5 years, right? So the spreadsheet that is posted gives you kind of a 10-year look, but the actual CIP you vote on is a 5-year. You can see that the majority of that is transportation, and that's a testament to Calvin and his team, who have just come up with so much more grant revenue sources to expand funding for our transportation network. You can see $6.6 million for schools and then $5.6 million for ARPA. Like I talked about before, there's about $45 million less over the 5-year period than what was originally presented to the Planning Commission back in February as kind of the full CIP, if you watched that meeting. For the facility costs, the majority of that is comprised of the community development facility, the school security enhancement program. Remember, that's an annual thing we're paying over 10 years, so it was done up front, but we pay for it over 10 years. And then the City Hall lease payments, which again are paid for by the Stanley Martin Homes. That's around $12.7 million of the $18 million you're going to see on the next slide. Transportation, again, those big items there in 28 and 29. 28 is the Innovative Intersections Project, which you guys are receiving briefings on right now about the revenues that we're getting for that. Again, we were the lead in applying for those grants. And then FY29, that's the Connor Drive Bridge, which again, we only want to do if we have some other source of funding for that one. But the 28 one, we have that money. 29, not yet, right? But that's kind of notional there, more of a concept. If we don't get it, we don't spend it. Okay. For community development in FY25, the big ticket items are actually ARPA. That's the SCADA project, and then the smart meters, kind of wrapping that up. That's why that number looks bigger than the other years. Parks and Rec, same thing. The reason why that looks bigger in 25 than the out years for Parks and Rec is that's the Signal Hill renovation project for the water park, for the pavilion, all that, which is ARPA funded. And then for administrative general services, again, that's mainly the difference there between the other years. You can see usually it's about a $4.5 million budget. That gap this year is because of the purchase of the community development building. And in future years in FY29 is for renovations to the existing fire station. This is just kind of a different way to look at it by program. You can see around 70% of the total budget is for transportation. And then you can kind of go down the road and just kind of see how much each of this is. If you look at the schools CIP table that they have, it shows around $7.1 million. 6.6 is how much the city is funding, right? The remaining, they're kind of funding within internal budget resources. That's why there's that discrepancy. A planning commissioner asked me last week and I completely forgot about that. So that's just kind of to clarify in public record why there's that difference. So actual non-transportation CIP spending compared to last year, it went up by around $1.5 million over the 5 years. Inflation, right, 3%, that's where we're at right now, but also ARPA, right? ARPA, a lot of stuff kind of got pushed back to 25, and we have some pretty big projects when it comes to ARPA, especially at the Parks and Rec side with the Signal Hill Park renovations. So not a dramatic increase in general fund. Again, excluding transportation, because 99% of transportation is funded by non-city general fund tax paying sources. So it's kind of good news when transportation spending goes up, because that means you're just getting a lot of more external resources to pay for your transportation network. For water and sewer, it's about a $23 million budget over 5 years, almost $16 million of which is for debt. You can see the UOSA line and the water debt lines up top. Those are kind of the biggest drivers of our fixed costs that we have for the water and sewer enterprise. The good news is that towards the end of this decade and the start of the next decade, you're going to get some relief in both sewer debt and water debt. And if these additional tap fees come in from additional developments that are not in open session, if those come in, you can start actually reducing water rates with that when you look at kind of the CIP spending. And you can see kind of the breakdown for the other components of water and sewer, including the water system improvements over the next 5 years. And then facilities, that's the community development building we were just talking about. For stormwater, another great news here, the second line in the revenues, that congressionally directed funding. So just like Calvin's team did a great job with securing a lot of transportation funding, Calvin Allen did a great job in securing congressional funding for the stormwater project as well. That has cut, pretty much funds 75% of the stream restoration project and allows us to ease the burden on residents in terms of capital spending on stormwater. We do have a lot more kind of maintenance that needs to be done, especially in the Connor Center industrial area. That's going to be a long-term burden for the city. I've given some ideas to staff next year to kind of pitch some solutions for how to get that done, but that's, keep that on your radar. The Connor Center industrial section is going to have some long-term capital liabilities for water, sewer, stormwater, and transportation as well. So total CIP all in, you can see, is around $158 million, $5.6 million of which is ARPA, and again, the biggest source is transportation. Is roughly 2/3 of the entire budget across all funds is transportation. You can see kind of the breakdown for every other program, kind of one slide summary of all of our CIP over 5 years. And then actual non-transportation full CIP is actually less this year than it was last year due to a lot of kind of spending reductions in both the water and sewer and the stormwater funds as well. Final note on CIP, just kind of remind people of history, because FY19 seems like it was a long time ago. It really wasn't. If you looked at that budget model, that 5-year CIP, it was $11.6 million. Please compare that to today's numbers of what I showed you as a comparison of where we were at that time and the limitations we had from a capital standpoint. Parks and Rec and police both that year were $0 in capital spending. It was a rough budget year. So as bad as things sounded last week when I was presenting, they're not that bad, right? Go back to how things were. We've made great strides. It's just we need to kind of slow down. We took a lot of the gains very early on in over 22, 23, 24, right? We just need to slow down some of that over the next 3 years, and then we'll be fine after that as well. In FY20, just doing a comparison with the city of Manassas, our CIP was about $15.7 million. $7.7 million was non-transportation. Manassas was about $69 million total, $56 million non-transportation. That would be equivalent to us in that year spending $27 million total and $22 on non-transportation. So $22 million compared to the $7 million that we actually spent. So the kind of why I'm showing you that is since the Great Recession, right, and since all the facilities were kind of completed with debt, the city has really underfunded our capital, right? And there's a critique to that. And we understood what we were doing back in 2019. We had the conversations with the governing body at that time, and these were the points, right? This isn't sustainable. This isn't a sustainable solution for us to do at that time to kind of push back capital spending, but we had no choice with the debt spike that we inherited, that we wanted to overcome versus pushing it back. And thank God they overcame it, because if not, you would have to be dealing with it today, right? Those are the kind of decisions that help future governing bodies when you do those kinds of things, right? We knew we were shooting ourselves in the foot with future price increases. Now, we never saw COVID coming and the inflation, the dramatic inflation that would come with that. But nevertheless, we didn't have a choice, because at that time we made a decision between people and capital, and we didn't want to let go of our most valuable asset, which were our employees at that time. So we didn't have a choice at that time. We underfunded our capital. It's really come back to bite us hard now, unfortunately, because of the inflationary pressures. But now we need to kind of catch up, and we're going to have to spend more per capita than our neighbors on capital, right? Probably not more total dollars, right? Because we don't have the same amount of money, but per capita, we're going to have to spend more than our neighbors. You're not going to do it necessarily in the CIP, but remember what my recommendation was at the last meeting when I presented my budget. For reserves and CIP, when you have annual surpluses now, tackle your CIP and your reserves with those annual surpluses while budgeting for tax rate reductions and pay increases, because those are more kind of long-term, whereas your capital and your reserves, you can do one-time contributions. So please, I recommend you guys utilize your surpluses going forward to start tackling a lot of these capital projects, doing them sooner rather than later, because every year you wait, the prices just keep going up and up. So that's all I have for the CIP. Open for any questions about general kind of budgeting. I may have to go to my desk to kind of pull up my spreadsheet for some of those. But again, we have the departments here or online to answer any specific project questions that you have.
So you said general budget questions?
Well, no, general CIP questions. I'm going to
okay.
go over the budget after we close out the CIP. I'm going to talk about the handout that I gave to you all. We can talk about
Okay.
the general budget.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll kick it off. Could you please refresh my memory? How are the public safety barriers used? That's on page 14.
The ones that were cut out? Hold on.
Page 14.
Oh, yeah, okay. So right now, there's a regional asset through Enverse where you can request these barriers, right? And those stop cars from being able to ram into people when you have events,
Yeah.
right? So they're very useful. We've been looking at trying to get something like that for our 4th of July. You can theoretically request that from a regional basis, but you're competing with every other jurisdiction. So we thought we wanted to go out and try to get these ourselves. That was one item, unfortunately, again, that had to be removed.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do we think we can do better than 125?
What do you mean better than 125? I'm
So
sorry.
you said we could go out and get them ourselves. This has 125,000 listed as the cost. So is the point to go out and get a better price? I'm a little fuzzy.
No. What these are here is
Yeah.
either, so you can see here, it was eliminated from the CIP. Some
Right.
of them are deferred, so that means we're not buying it in the current CIP.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then my next question is why not?
because I had to balance the budget. So
Oh.
it goes back to you all. If you want
So-
to get that back into the budget, you're going to have to remove something from the CIP.
Okay, so it couldn't be deferred to a future year is what I'm thinking?
It fell off the 10-year model. Yeah,
Okay,
you-
I
yeah,
see.
Again, you guys can, this is my recommended CIP. You guys
Okay.
can say, nope, Wells will bring that project back and cut X project, and we'll do that.
Okay. Anybody have questions?
But again, this is another example of when you have a surplus at the end of this year,
Yeah.
look to this list and say, hey, what did you want to get back? That's a small item. You'll probably be able to knock out with surplus if you really want to.
Okay, because it's a safety thing.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
okay,
agree.
okay. So, go ahead.
Yes, the mayor had the same question I had. I just want to get a greater clarification. How some of the on the list are rolled into future years.
Yeah.
Which I totally understand. But some are eliminated, taken totally out of the CIP picture,
The 10-year model, correct.
the 10-year model. But they're still in our CIP list. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, they have a
When you
big
say
X.
eliminate,
Yeah.
they haven't been X'd out.
They have a big X on them, and they're just showing $0 in the spreadsheet. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if we push it back to year 11, 12, 13, do we have to eliminate the fact that at some point we want to buy these?
No, that's why I didn't get rid of the slide. I'm just showing
Barriers.
an X in terms of it's gone, but it will be in our Excel file as an unfunded capital liability, right, or a capital request. So we retain that, just like the skate park, right, which isn't even shown here. We've kind of kept that in the spreadsheet just to remind us that that was a prior goal that was just unfunded for the longest time. Our list has kind of grown this year,
Can't hear you.
right? So we are going to have items that are going to be on that list. Again, this is why I separated out this year, so you guys can hold on to this list and either tell me to put stuff back in this model, or to utilize surpluses when we get them to start tackling some of these priority projects that didn't make the CIP funding.
And what was your process for coming up with those projects that were eliminated?
Some of it was mathematical, right? It's
Okay.
playing Tetris, fitting it in. Some of it is, again, like for this one, there is a regional one. We could try to borrow the regional one. That's an uphill battle, right? But that's kind of I'm doing my best to try to kind of fit the money in, along with looking at everything that's in there in terms of priorities, and then some other avenues potentially that we could tackle, again, through regional assets.
I guess my final question, well, at least in this section, does your model, when you eliminate the CIP, does it include any enhancements or increases in our revenue to not eliminate these things? I mean, over the next 5, 10 years?
You're saying, do any of these projects generate revenue for us that we would lose if we cut them, or?
Well, that, but also, do you take into consideration, we may be making more money 3 or 4 years down the road than we are now, but we've eliminated them from our CIP? In other words, are you taking into consideration future revenue?
I am, yeah.
Okay,
I am.
that's the
I do conservative,
Better
though,
question.
forecasts
Okay.
for future revenue, right? Which always gives you guys an opportunity then to do more in those years when we beat those revenue forecasts.
Gotcha.
We've beaten them on certain things, and we've kind of come under on other. Sales tax is the best example where we've fallen way short on sales tax projections, but for others, people now we're beating it, right? So there's other areas kind of, you know, where different things are happening with revenues, but we do take a long-term
Yes.
look at this, and you're right. But that's why I'm still showing it to you all, right? Some people will say this is a waste of time to show projects that aren't funded. I don't see it that way. I see it as information for you all, so that if you guys do have more money in the future, you can revisit this list and see what else you guys can fund. Or at the end of this year, let's say you have another strong surplus here, right? Now you go back when the next budget amendment, and for FY25 budget amendment, pull this list out and say, hey staff, are we going to fund any of these items with that surplus?
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a YouTube question from Mr. Mike Smith. Laszlo's CIP presentation, can you ask why do we have water debt and UOSA debt? Apparently he was not aware that we were indebted in that way.
Oh,
so
yeah.
can you explain that?
I think I should bring the expert. Calvin, can you come up and explain what our water and UOSA debt are?
So just the debt.
The rationale. What this is, why we have that debt, why we have water debt, why we have.
Okay. For both water and sewer, we operate under capacity agreements. We do no sewer treatment whatsoever. Upper Occoquan Sewage Authority, by state law, treats all of our sewage. In order to have that treatment, we actually have to buy capacity in the system. So our capacity seems high. We don't actually generate that much sewage on a daily basis, but like every other jurisdiction in Northern Virginia, we have I&I issues, probably like every jurisdiction in the world. So I&I, when it spikes after rain events, snow events, we have to actually purchase capacity that allows UOSA to deal with that, to build a plant that can accommodate those massive I&I events across the region. So in that purchase of our capacity, we had to sell bonds to make those arrangements, purchase that capacity, and as long as our capacity agreement exists, we owe our share of responsibility for the capital improvements that take place at the UOSA plant and with their distribution transmission facilities. Same with water. We have a capacity agreement with the city of Manassas to serve primarily the west end of our city, and then we have a capacity agreement with the Prince William Service Authority to serve the east end of our city. Both of those we incurred debt to achieve that capacity, and just the same as UOSA, we owe our percentage ownership and capital reinvestment into those features. Unfortunately, on the Prince William side, Prince William Service Authority is just really the middleman distributing Fairfax water to us. So we owe actually capital improvement money to Prince William County, and we owe capital improvement money to Fairfax Water themselves. So that is why we have debt, is for our capacity in our systems and for major projects past that we've had to sell bonds for. I don't know how many of those projects we're actually still paying debt service on. We've refinanced so many times that it's kind of hard to tell what the existing debt is still about, but it could have been partially past phased water system improvement projects or past sewer projects, but primarily if you're looking to the source of that debt, it was capacity agreements.
Thank you. Yeah.
One thing to note with those capacity agreements is we bought a lot more water capacity than what we actually needed. We have a lot more sewer capacity than what we actually need, right? So when you add more customers, you're helping to get closer so that you're spreading that debt across more people.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Mensing?
Okay. I have a clarification about the fire station remodel. I see that we have a number of projects going into the fire station leading up to a 2029 remodel. Would they complement the remodel then? Would that kind of be, or would that be kind of spinning our wheels?
Yeah, so the remodel is more structural, right? In reality, you can spend a lot more than what we have budgeted here. Just the design alone You remember what the quote was, Chief? I would say almost $1 million, almost. Okay, no, I mean, but the design, just the design cost. Do you remember what that was for them to do design? It was a few $100,000 at least. Yeah, so $300,000 just to do a design, but there's a lot of options you can do, but those are more structural, right? Some of the other stuff, again, are like different equipment that you would have in there. But when we say structural, we're talking about brand new bathrooms, relocating the bathrooms to where it makes more sense, redoing the bunk spaces so they make more sense. There's different options that the design company gave us, right? But that we don't have, unfortunately, the capacity to pay for right now.
Okay, so everything on page 39 is kind of complementary to each other?
Yes.
Okay. And then my last question is about vehicle replacements. So I see we're replacing a lot of vehicles, and I was just wondering the rationale for some of these. I noticed one that we're replacing, the current one is just a 2021. So what's the rationale between the vehicles that we're replacing this year? And specifically, I'm looking at page 30.
The 2021 vehicle.
Well, yeah, that's the newest. I was just kind of surprised to see that. It's also a 2020. I'm just wondering the rationale, but how we identified these as needing to be replaced this upcoming year.
So, I apologize. Keith, you want to go over the fire, the F-250?
So the three vehicles in red are based on new additions that were not in the original model.
Right.
And those are just additional hires. The other vehicles were based on the original model that we briefed back in 2019. And only one of those from those vehicles are within the 5-year for rotational to be swapped out. Everything else was pre-planned for this year to be brought in.
Okay, I guess my question is,
Yeah.
for something that's as new as a 2021 Ford, could we hold off a year?
Yeah, so,
Since it's
okay,
not really
I see the numbers here that you're talking about now, yeah. So that's a 5 calendar years, right? That replacement. You can hold off, but what we get is a recommendation based off of resale value, right? To maximize, so what Enterprise does is they're kind of the experts. They're constantly buying and selling cars, almost like, stock trading, right? So they look at your vehicles and say, okay, when can I maximize value? And sometimes it's actually after 3 years, right? But they politically, you never would do that, right? They've actually had cases where after 1 year, it would make more sense where you can get more equity, but they can never push that politically, right? So we've kind of capped it as a 5 calendar year. We have that. That would be the minimum of when we would sell it, because anything less than that would be, unacceptable, I think, to our public, right? You can hold off, right? But there's 2 downsides to holding off. One is your resale value, you're minimizing that, right? And then next is the constant increase in new car values and delay in receipt as well. So a lot of these cars, especially when it comes to fire vehicles, when you're getting them kind of fixed up, there's been a lag now, and at least over a year. Some cars we haven't gotten in 2-3 years. So we say it's in the budget for 25. We may not get that vehicle until 26, 27 as well. Okay. But we're trying to, they're giving us their recommendations for how to maximize your equity when you sell the car to limit your long-term costs.
Okay, so those two, the 2021 and the 2020, we have evaluated, and it is economically advantageous to do it now.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to follow up on Vice Mayor Mensing's fire station question. I see on page 38 where the study is there's a study being performed by Prince William County to determine fire station placement. Will that help determine if the city builds a second fire station?
So, right now, Prince William County is going through their own study with fire station placement throughout the county. The county's exploded, right? So they have to put stations wherever. The fire chief, the current fire chief offered up to myself and the Manassas City Fire Chief, if we wanted to be part of the study, he would have the consulting firm look at both of our cities and say, this is where they recommend you build one in the future. Not where you have to build one, but where they think it would be best for your service delivery.
Okay.
So we're just kind of waiting for that study to take place. I'm not sure whether it's going to take place this year or next year, I can find out from the fire chief in Prince William County when that study is going to take place and get back to you with that. But they just made an offer to evaluate both cities as they do the county.
Okay, okay, thank you. Stay there because I want to talk about the ladder truck. We had a ladder truck a few years back. The governing body was given some misinformation, some bad advice, and we made the decision to sell the ladder truck. Now we've acquired another ladder truck, and I'm concerned that there was a suggestion made that we might have to sell it if X, Y, and Z did not occur. So my question to you is, I have every confidence in the world that if we needed that ladder truck used tomorrow, that our department would be able to do that. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
So your second point about it being used tomorrow is correct. Matter of fact, those three gentlemen there are staffing it right now and it's parked outside.
Okay.
The reason they're here is they heard the comment last week about possibly selling a ladder truck.
Yeah.
One of those three gentlemen is the union president. He just wanted to come here for himself tonight. What's going on? All right. We heard the gentleman this morning, earlier talk about the use of the ladder truck. And I think what I want to make sure that we understand is that this ladder truck is not a luxury item. It is a true necessity for this department to do their job, right? Look at the makeup of our department, of our community, right? It is a true necessity to get to that roof as soon as possible, to get above the fire as soon as possible, to be able to put a water curtain down between the houses that are built so close together. I don't want to burn down three houses. If we have to lose one, let's lose one. But let's not burn down the whole block because we don't have the resources.
Yeah.
I can tell you Manassas City is building a new fire station somewhere up near the hospital, near Stonewall. The old town station is going to be closed down. That resource that we use right now is going somewhere to the hospital or possibly over by the fairgrounds. If you want the next closest unit, it's going to come out of Fairfax County. I don't know what 28's pretty bad in the afternoons.
Yeah.
So there is a true need for this. So
Yeah.
I'll work with the city manager, the oncoming city manager, to figure out the funds of how to make this happen. But I can truly tell you, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And it'll be available to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it was staffed last Friday. Every day there's staffing available. They put it up.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I would hate for the city to part with it because ladder trucks don't grow on trees.
No,
Yeah.
it's going to be a huge replacement cost in the future.
Yeah.
And we got a good deal on it too.
Yeah.
So we got a good deal on that ladder truck.
Yeah, we do.
Well, and it's just not the 2/2s. If you go on the west side, we're constantly seeing where the 900 Cape Cods are being torn down or being built. They're being McMansioned. And we noticed the one on my street that the residents complained about. It is, 1.5, 2 times it dwarfs the next door neighbors. So it's everywhere.
What I've seen over the last 24 years, this city is very resilient. When we say we can't afford something, we can't do something, somewhere or another, something happens, you guys get together, you figure it out real quick.
Yes.
So, my congratulations to you for doing all that over the last 24 years. You do it time in, time out. But I truly urge you not to even have that consideration of getting rid of that truck, right? That is a true necessity for this community.
Okay.
I mean, that comment today, I was like, ooh, that's pretty spot on.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I didn't appreciate about that comment, though, was that he was trying to pit the ladder truck against the community development building. And that I'm not going to stand for. I'm going to respect all of our city departments, and all of them need to be supported as well.
Yeah.
So that was my issue. I agreed with him with the ladder truck. I did not agree with pitting one department against the other.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen while I'm here.
Yeah.
The other thing, again, agree with everything said except for the last 24 years figuring out how to do something, how to pay for stuff, that didn't happen. We figured out how to get ourselves into almost bankruptcy. So caution. I want to do everything. I fought for everything. That's why I present proposals to you all in closed session to pay for stuff. But I'm also going to be fiscally responsible. I'm always going to tell you the truth. I'm always going to show you the math. So there are ways to do things, but you got to do it in an intelligent way. And again, I'm going to, keep pushing hard for these economic development projects that will give you the revenue to be able to accomplish all of our goals. That's always been what I've been working for.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
I've got
ma'am.
Some questions. Now regarding the prioritization, I know you said it was Tetris trying to make it all work. How else did you rank it? Were there must-haves, should-haves, could-haves, won't-haves?
A little bit of that. Unfortunately, again, this is why we're going to take time now to do this. Unfortunately, we get revenues almost the last week of March. And I brought the team in this year to kind of show them how I do stuff, and we're at a time crunch.
Yeah.
So would we have wanted more time to look through this? Of course. But I had to present a budget to you all. This was my best effort with the limited time that I had to give you guys my best recommendations for a prioritized list.
Sure.
We have now time to look at it and to make recommendations about what you guys want to cut from the existing CIP to put other projects back in.
Okay. And this is to my fellow council members. When we have our work session, instead of us sitting up here, which makes it really difficult, could we sit in a square down there with all the department heads? I remember back in the day when I was on the electoral board, that's how it was done, because I was pulled into those meetings. Would it also be helpful to us if we asked the department heads to kind of prioritize, like must-have, could-have, should-haves, could-haves, we got to have this. We can live without this, for another year. This is great if we have the money. To me, that would help. I know for me, it would, looking at this and making decisions. I don't know if that would help the rest of you all.
Regarding sitting in a circle or whatever.
Well, two things. The first one was, let's sit in not a circle, but in a square.
In a square.
Right, so
whatever.
we can actually
Yeah.
have a true
Yeah.
working session.
And the last time you suggested that, we came in, it was set up for that. And most of the governing body said, oh, I don't think I want to sit here. I don't think I want to do that. So then we transitioned back to the days again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, a working session, this sitting up here is not a working session. This doesn't
Yeah.
facilitate the conversations. But then the second one was the prioritization of what's in here.
Mhm.
And we can guess all day long, what's a necessity. What I want to hear from you all is, do you think it would be helpful to get the department heads' input as we're looking at this, have them kind of go through as we're looking and kind of prioritize?
I don't know what the rest of the governing body does, but when I look at the CIP, I look at the year, and the year that it's projected to be spent, that to me is priority. So something that's scheduled to be done in 2031 obviously is not the priority of something that is done in 25 or 23.
Because financial feasibility is a component.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? So that fire station remodel, we probably do that now. Right? That's where do we get the money? And the challenging thing is it's going to be kind of every department's going to say that their project is critical.
That's the concern I
It's
have.
your all's discretion. I've done my best to balance, because I do value what every single department does in the city. I believe in what every single department in this city does for our residents, right? So I've done my best to balance across all the departments. I do that every year,
And
right?
I'm not
And so I think
questioning
it's
that.
your all's
And we
decision.
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
and I'm
we
not questioning
rely-
that.
We rely on your advice and your recommendations.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
But at the same time, prioritization is nothing new. I mean, I know that the tendency is to make everything a priority, but if we went back because we're in some uncharted territory here. I think the only one that was on here when we were in the worst of times was yourself. Myself, I was on the electoral board, which was totally different, and that was just a small little segment of the pie. And I know what we did with the late Noreen Slater and I think the late Maxine Coleman.
Yeah.
What we did to prioritize back in the worst of times.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure, I understand what you're saying, I'm not questioning how you did it, can we look at it a different way? Can we get their input? Knowing that not everything can be right away, but if we get some sort of prioritization list, if we see the big picture, maybe we as a joint group can kind of move some things around.
You can get a prioritized list by department, It's gonna be your policy preferences across departments. Don't pit the departments against each other.
We're
I
not
don't
pitting
advise
it, we're
you.
just trying to get their information.
I get it, but
to-
what I'm telling you, the information you're gonna get from them, it could be a prioritized list of their capital projects. I'm not disagreeing you can't do that, right? But at the end of the day, it's you guys to decide amongst those priorities what needs to be funded. I've done my best in the CIP to do that. You guys can certainly do that as
Right,
well.
and what I'm saying is that we're not going to pit, but it's one of the elements that'll help us with the decision-making.
How?
So when we're sitting there and we have to decide, that can help us decide the difference between, I don't know, lights on a street, between, I don't know, goose reduction.
But you have your justifications here, so
I-
you want to literally have two departments kind of debating
No, I'm
with
not,
each
we're not
other
having them
for-
debate. Clearly, you're not open to this idea, but this is why I'm opening it to you, to the members
Well,
of the
let's,
committee.
let's have the governing body think about it.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and if they have any questions, we can bring it up again.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
okay.
But, I mean, sorry, I'll be quiet. I think Hasib's got a question.
Do you have
Or
a question?
statement.
Well, I think you're trying to say each department prioritizes their needs, but have a one-on-one with the department,
We could do that.
right? Not, instead of having both departments there.
We could do that.
Each department will have their own
Yeah.
purpose.
Okay.
The second thing about the, were you?
I was going to ask if she had a follow-up
Sure.
question. Do you have
No,
a follow-up?
I hadn't thought about that,
Okay,
but, yeah.
go ahead.
And that's why we bring up these ideas, because it sparks other ideas.
Right, yeah. Back to the CIP, I thought we were gonna add the traffic light installment on Cabell intersection, I think it was?
It was
or
Polk.
Polk.
We do
Is it
have
there?
that. That is there.
Oh, it is there?
It is, yeah. Mhm.
It's just not called out by itself. It's kind of like bundled together.
I see.
Because I
Okay.
had to search for it.
Okay, I'll go through it
Yeah.
tonight.
Go through the spreadsheet again, that's the easiest way to look at it. Just go down line item by line item, it lists every single
Okay.
project.
And the other thing was that the turf, how bad is the turf out on Signal Hill?
Oh, the fields
The
themselves.
field, I guess, the turf field, yes, and the outdoor lighting.
Oh, okay. We
Because
don't
that's been
have- okay,
eliminated
yeah.
and.
Yeah, we don't have a turf field, so the
Oh.
request was to replace the current fields with turf. Right? There's an argument to be made, so that turf fields are a lot more
Or like the
expensive up front.
artificial.
Yeah,
turf.
exactly, but they have long-term, theoretical savings, right? There's kind of debates about safety and other things related to it, right? We can talk to Jay about that issue, but the request was to replace the existing grass fields with turf fields. That's kind of going back to Councilmember Hampton's point where I have to prioritize
Right.
must-haves versus wants. I saw that more as a want. It's certainly, you could argue some people will argue it's an improvement in service. Other people have objections to turf field and then prefer grass.
Well, is the turf field and the outdoor lighting bundled, or can that be separated?
It can be separated. You can have outdoor lighting, but right now our parks close at night, which is why, another reason why I kind of pushed that project back. Lighting is helpful, I think, for the first 30 minutes after your park is closed to allow people to kind of find their car, especially in the winter when things get darker a little bit earlier. I think there's value for lights, but because we make it clear that the park closes at night, that was one of the reasons why it was less of a priority right now. I think it's.
Well, the
it's-
only reason I bring this part up particularly is because we started with our July 4th celebrations.
Mhm.
We're hosting thousands or hundreds of
Mhm.
people across the city in that area, and sometimes it goes past dark, right?
Yeah, but
the-
we
the
set up
events.
lights. You set up lights, you can rent out more lights. That's a
Okay.
one time. If you're gonna do that more frequently, I agree
Well,
with you then.
that's our goal, right? Is to do more frequent events, not only in downtown, maybe kind of push it back a little bit to the Signal Hill area.
Not yet in Signal Hill, at least. At
Okay.
least that hasn't been my recommendation. Certainly Independence Day, I agree with utilizing Signal Hill Park for an event there. That's something you guys can consider going down the road. But again, going back to, so we did zero-based budgeting back in 2019. That was a big push from the governing body at that time. And we kind of ingrained that in the mindset of departments. The departments have done a really good job of kind of coming up with what they present. They actually show it in kind of that must-have, need to have, and want to have. And that helps guide me when I'm making these decisions.
Yes.
Yeah. Leslie, could you speak to the elimination of the 35 million for the high school renovation? Is that just?
I think it's
the
needed.
Lifeness of the high school can go past the 10-year CIP requirement?
It's purely, we can't afford it. That's
Can't
that's
afford
the
it.
answer.
Okay.
I think it's an incredibly important project that's needed. We just can't afford it, and that's why I bring things like we're going to talk about tonight in closed session because I want to fund the ladder truck and the staffing for the ladder truck. I want to fund CTE in the high schools. I want to fund renovations for all of our buildings. That's why I push these initiatives.
Follow up?
No, that was.
Yeah, okay. I see on page 58, Mathis Avenue Extension. Does this require the taking of residential property? Because that's a very serious action to have to take someone's home.
We have not designed this project at all at this point. We're putting on the CIP. We received funding, correct me if I'm wrong, Calvin, I want to say 28 or FY 28 or 29 to start kind of that planning concept for what that would be. But this is, you'll see in our neighbors Manassas, they're kind of going to push for a full Mathis Avenue redevelopment. It is a good opportunity for the city in the long run, once you're done with the downtown, to shift your focus to 28. And Mathis Avenue redevelopment is going to be a key component for how you can redevelop across 28. So it's more of a planning study at that point. It's your all's policy decisions at that point when that's being done. If you have a zero takings policy for residential, you make that clear and then let the engineers figure out how to get it done without that.
Well, I mean, I won't be here when this decision is made, but I would caution my fellow council members to be very careful with residential taking. I think that's very serious. And looking at the map, I couldn't see how this could be done without taking some homes. So, I mean, that concerned me. But anyway, that's like you say, in the future.
I think it can. I could talk to you offline about how I think it can be done.
Okay.
But I don't want to talk about it in
Okay,
public.
gotcha, okay. I have more questions, but I don't want to monopolize. Does anyone have any questions?
I have questions, but I'm going to put them in an email.
I'm sorry?
I have questions, but I'm going to put them in an email.
Okay, okay. Page 64 in the CIP. I'm a little concerned about the 2-hour parking and the 1-hour parking. There's going to be restaurants and fine dining in the...
These are just pictures. We're going to work with businesses to see what the hours are that they're going to want, like the limitations, like is it 3-hour parking, is it 4-hour parking? You have to work with your businesses to see
Okay.
what works to keep overnight, residential or people who are living in the downtown from parking there, but these are just pictures, right? They're
Right.
not emblematic of what we're actually going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you will work, like fine dining, you don't just rush in and rush out
A
like
movie
you do
theater,
at
you can't do 1 hour
McDonald's, you
parking
know?
for a movie
What?
theater. For a movie theater, you can't do 1 hour parking. So you
Right.
have to work with your businesses and figure
Right.
out where you need different hourly rates. So
Okay.
that has to be done. We haven't
Okay.
done that yet.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Let's see, I have one more. This comment is more for my fellow council members. I won't be here next year when you address this, but I see where the Parks and Recreation, the emergency call box was moved up to FY '30. I would suggest moving that a little closer in time because people could get out there and have a heart attack, or they could have some kind of a health emergency. And I would just suggest that you, next year, think about moving this up a little closer to,
Could we get metrics on how many calls we've run over?
For Blooms Park?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
certainly ask police and fire for that.
Because I know I had read over the weekend, or it happened over the weekend on the W&O Trail, someone had an emergency and there were folks out there doing,
yeah.
resuscitating the
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah, and even though we have our cell phones, it's like an extra layer of protection, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions? No? Okay. We are now at number 12, our second public comment.
Before we leave the budget, can I now talk about the
Oh, yeah.
overall
Yeah,
budget?
yeah,
Let
yeah.
me pull up another
Yeah.
slide back here.
Okay. My budget question is, I know that Vice Mayor Mensing had indicated on her wish list to hire a deputy city attorney because Dean will probably be retiring over the next couple years. He's got to have a lot of time to do a brain dump. Got to find the right person. And is there any possibility that that deputy city attorney could be hired? I know we're in a hiring freeze. That, I get that.
No, because that we kept in the budget. There's in the budget right now for an assistant city attorney. To have a true deputy, you're gonna have to increase some funding for it, right? But we can certainly, we haven't spent that money this year.
Okay.
So at the end of this year, you can just roll that money over to next year, kind of over 2 years, to make up that difference from what you would need from a deputy city attorney versus an assistant city attorney.
Okay, well, can we ask Dean what his estimate is to hire?
Yeah, I'll work with Dean and kind of get the dollar amount and plug it in.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
But actually, it's going to be more towards Keith and the team just remembering at the end of the year, just roll over that money, the unspent money for the assistant city attorney this year, roll that money over 2 fiscal years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm concerned about getting just the right person.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you. Because Dean, he has been fantastic. He cares about the city. He's been here a long time. He has a lot of institutional knowledge that needs to be passed on. So, okay, thank you.
So tonight, I want to talk about the ideas that came out at the last meeting. I was asked to go in and kind of price different scenarios with personal property tax. So just as a reminder, we kind of have the status quo structure. When I say status quo, I mean following the strategic planning guidelines and budget models, where we were cutting the tax rate by 1 penny every year, right? So we're at 143 this year. Following our strategic plan, we would drop it down to 142. Now, we went way ahead of the strategic plan, right? Because a lot of years we cut by 8 cents and other things, right? But this keeps us, at least for this 4-year plan, in line with at least cutting 1 penny per year. The $3 personal property tax rate, that's what it is right now. The 2.5% COLA, that was kind of the floor for pay raises that we set in the model. And then with the status quo budget, you are freezing these additional personnel that was not in they were unfrozen in my recommended budget. So I came back and presented a different model where we would no longer have the highest real estate tax rate in Virginia with the 139 real estate tax rate, but we would have then an average personal property, slightly below average personal property tax rate of $4. That would enable us to do also a 3% COLA to help improve our salary competitiveness with our neighbors, and to unfreeze those critical positions, the zoning enforcement officer that's needed, along with the building inspector, both of which are critical for effective enforcement of the existing rental district, along with the prohibition for short-term rentals and for overcrowding issues. Those 2 positions are critical to have, so that's why I made that recommendation, along with the parking enforcement officer. We still have a lot of parking enforcement needs that need to be done, especially when the downtown comes along. We talked about the restrictions on 3-hour, 4-hour parking, whatever it ends up being. The police are going to need help with enforcing that in the downtown as well. So my budget kind of enabled to do that. But then there was a recommendation, hey, let's see different models of personal property tax. So these are kind of the 2 models. So Councilmember Carrera and Councilmember Javed wanted to see a $3.50 model. I'm calling this the pre-COVID model, right? So right before COVID, we were at $3.50. We reduced it during COVID to help out our residents, right? This would be bringing it back to the pre-COVID personal property tax numbers. What that would allow you to do is have a tax rate of $1.41, so an additional penny beyond the status quo in real estate tax rates. You would still be able to do the 3% COLA instead of the 2.5% COLA, but you can only unfreeze the zoning enforcement officer. The mayor last week made it clear we need at least that position to be unfrozen so we can tackle a resident priority, which I heard at the town halls as well, is deal with this rental issue. This would allow us to do that still. Unfortunately, we would have to retain the frozen parking enforcement and building inspector position with this model. Councilmember Moore asked to plug in a 3.6 personal property tax rate, and the reason for that is we would still have the lowest personal property tax rate in all the region with 3.6, and what that enables you to do, that kind of presented 2 scenarios, right? You can have one at a $1.405 real estate tax rate, so slightly lower than the 141 of the pre-COVID personal property tax rate. You would still be able to do the 3% COLA, and you'd be able to unfreeze the zoning person. Or you can go even further with your tax rates down to 140, but what that would cost is the COLA. You'd only be able to do a 2.5%. What I'm recommending is one of these 3, right? I, of course, recommended the top left box. That was in my budget. I think the other 2 that are also in those boxes They work, they preserve the 3% COLA for our employees instead of the 2.5% COLA. They preserve the zoning enforcement position so we can start going after short-term rentals and overcrowding and enforce the actual rental district. I think these are all balanced, good public policy. So I'm recommending either of those three. I think make a lot of sense.
So
That's all.
what is your recommendation?
Oh, my
Which one?
recommendation is this one.
The first
right?
one.
But I was asked to plug in some different numbers. I think these three are all good options.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I just think the best is the top left.
Okay.
And you don't have to decide tonight. I'm giving
Yeah.
you guys some data here.
Does the lower one on the left and the top center, they both keep the zoning enforcement
They do,
officer? They
yes.
both have them,
Mhm.
okay, okay.
And they both preserve 3% COLA instead of 2.5%.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
So really the difference between the two is a tax rate question. Do you want a slightly lower real estate tax rate, right? And still preserve the lowest personal property tax rate? Or do you want to just kind of recover the personal property tax rate that we had pre-COVID and keep that as your ceiling? That's kind of the public policy decision you guys have
Yeah.
between those two.
well, I'm really open to any of them, as long as the zoning enforcement is, we have the capability to hire the zoning enforcement officer. you know.
Well, here's my concern. I know that last week we talked about the talk was increasing the personal property and reducing the real estate tax, so those that don't own a home are paying a little bit more of their fair share. But the issue is those of us that do own a home, and we do have we all have cars. So we're getting, I don't know how to best say it, but we're getting kind of the short end of that deal. So we go from, anywhere from $3 in personal property to now almost anywhere from half a dollar to $1 more.
Yeah, but that pays for lower real estate. So it decreases your home ownership tax.
I get that.
Yeah.
So if we went with the upper left, that would kind of neutralize what Councilmember Hampton is saying, because we would be paying less in real estate.
Yeah, I mean, with all these, you're paying slightly less in real estate, right? It's just, this is the magic number we've been talking about for the longest time.
Yeah.
That's why I presented that.
I think no longer having the highest real estate tax rate is something we've been campaigning for, every single one of us.
Yeah.
And it's the number one thing people have been asking for, hands down. No,
Yes.
second place is so far behind. So
Yeah.
I think the fact that we can actually consider that for our budget this year it's fantastic. I mean, when
Yeah.
I was listening to this meeting in my car, I was like, woohoo! That's something we need to really take into consideration.
Yeah.
What would happen if we did $1.39 and 3.6?
You'd have to reduce your COLA. You would definitely have to freeze the zoning position. You wouldn't be able to do the zoning enforcement officer, and you'd have to definitely decrease the pay. I'd have to plug that in to see what you would do. Yeah. Again, I always try to present balance. I want to help our employees, I want to help residents, and I also want to help you all with public policy goals such as the rental issues that we're having and overcrowding issues.
Can you plug it in and let us know?
Yeah, absolutely. If that's what the body wants.
The left bottom box, it still has the lowest property tax, the 1.405.
No, this is real estate and this is personal property.
Okay, I meant real estate.
Yeah,
has the
it
lowest-
doesn't, no. 139.5 is right now our competitor. That's why this number gets you no longer the highest.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that was Herndon, I believe.
Mhm.
Well, that is
Okay.
very appealing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
It
agree.
is,
I
yeah.
agree with that.
Because that and the water bill, people, we
Yeah.
get a lot of
Yeah.
input, about that, yeah.
And then once here, when they get their personal property.
Well, that too, yeah,
you hear
personal
about
property
that,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go up by $1.
The thing I don't like is that what we reduced it last year,
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
We kept it the same, and then now all of a sudden we're increasing it by double.
Yeah. Again, I
tax
presented the
rate.
data about how the region taxes, and what it showed is that we're clearly undertaxing cars and
Yeah.
overtaxing homes. So that's what the data shows, right? So I presented that to you all and came up with a recommendation, at least for what I think works to kind of balance that out a little bit better.
Yeah, that is balanced. Okay, when do you need our decision by?
You guys have till the first or second meeting in May. I got to go back and look at the budget calendar.
Okay.
So you still have some more work sessions as well to kind of think this through, to ask departments questions as well about their budgets. But that's when you have to set the advertise. Theoretically, you can advertise higher everything and still deliberate longer, but I always like to try to recommend advertising kind of what you truly want to do, so that the public can kind of engage with those numbers. But you have till early May to figure this out.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I mean,
And-
Lazo's here till next week.
Yeah,
Yeah, so any
yeah,
questions, I think we should deliver it
yeah,
ASAP.
yeah,
So you could answer.
yeah.
You guys can still call me if you want. So you guys can still call me.
Okay.
Not going to block our
We just might do that. Okay. Any other comments or questions? No? Do you have more to present, Laz?
No, that was it. That was the
Okay.
key questions from last week. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure. So the only thing to let you guys know is I don't think the budget book's going to be fully done by the next meeting, but we'll get you all the department chapters, so at least you can look at that to
Okay.
prepare for the departmental Q&As.
Will it be bound?
No, because it's just going to be the departmental sections right now. When we finish it, then we'll bound it.
It'll be bound then, okay. Along with binding the CIP?
Yes.
Like,
So
okay,
really
thank
quick
you.
though, do we want to see 1.39 and 3.6? Do you want to see what 1.39 and 3.6 will give us?
Why not? Why
Okay.
not?
We can
1.3.
create a new box. Yeah.
For the real estate,
Yeah,
and
so-
3.6 for the personal property?
I thought we already have.
Yeah.
The lowest
No.
real estate,
Oh,
yeah.
1.39.
So again, you would definitely have to freeze that position, and I'll see how low the COLA has to go for employees.
Just throw it in there and let us see.
Can you say that again? You weren't talking into the microphone?
I'm sorry, yeah, so just offhand, you're gonna have to reduce the COLA amount, and then
Oh.
you're gonna have to freeze the zoning, but I'll tell you how low the COLA amount will go.
Okay, I'm not in favor of going below 3% for the COLA. That's,
Well, let's just throw it in there though, so that we can, so this way even the residents can see what we're,
oh, okay. If it's for informational
Yeah.
purposes, but I can't support less than 3% COLA, honestly.
I think the more information we put out there for residents,
Yeah,
the more they understand
yeah,
the reason behind a decision.
Yeah.
I'll add another box up here with that,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
resend it.
Okay, thank you. And you have nothing else to present?
No, nothing for this.
Okay,
And how many,
so moving on to the...
I got questions.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, for the FY '24, we gave 2 increases for COLA? In
For FY '24, let me pull up the budget for. You remember offhand what we did last year? That was 6%. Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
So,
So I recommended 4.4
right,
when I presented the budget, and then you guys went with 6%.
Yeah.
right.
Which is
so-
great. Our employees appreciate that. Just, again, as we
And-
do more in tax rate reductions and more in pay increase, it just makes future years harder. And that's what we had this year.
Right.
Water bill.
Okay.
So we gave them a robust COLA increase,
Yeah,
so I
No,
think.
no. We matched what the rest of the region was doing last year.
Well, we
Yeah.
can't match. I guess.
which I would point out probably did not keep up with inflation.
Oh, it didn't,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, you said you didn't want to go below 3%. I think that kind of offsets for what we did last year,
Oh, what does?
the 6% increase.
It does.
No, no, I mean, are you saying going below 3%
Right.
offsets? Oh,
Like,
Oh.
since we did the extra increase this year.
You got to look at what the competitors are doing. They're doing all 4.5%, 5%.
Well, yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
can't
We-
keep up with them, but we're trying.
we have to at least try to stay competitive.
And I know the federal
Yeah.
government at the beginning of this year gave more than 2% of a COLA to the employees.
Yeah.
Now, next, I believe it's in the next fiscal budget, federal employees might get 2%.
Yeah,
But we did better than the federal government.
I mean, we just got to find a middle ground because I can't support $1 increase for the personal property tax. So, I mean, we just got to find a way.
Well, I mean,
You can do the 3% still with the 3.5.
Well,
and
I
3.6.
guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on.
okay. Do you have a follow-up? No, okay. Okay, moving on to our second public comment time. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment?
Just down here.
Yes, Mr. Alexander. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Lisa.
Speak directly into the microphone, yeah.
Paul Alexander, just citizen comment. I actually only just wanted to stay because I didn't get a chance. I wanted to say thank you again to Mr. Palco for everything he's been doing for the city for the last couple of years, the financial stewardship from a school board standpoint, obviously working with the schools, but really as a citizen, I just wanted to thank you very much for everything you've been doing.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
Paul.
the school board and your superintendent as well. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to thank the four of you for what you do for the city and for specifically staffing the ladder truck. I'm very grateful that I have you and the ladder truck here in the city, so thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah.
Madam Mayor, one
Yes.
last thing.
Go ahead.
So April 27th, we are going to have a cleanup at Lower Kent Park. And for those that don't know where Lower Kent Park is, it's the Kent Street. You go down Manassas Drive as you're heading towards Baker, make a right on Kent, but you can't really go down all the way on Kent because it's a one-way street at a certain point. But it's the very end. It's where the old independent school is. And if you don't want to know where the old independent school is, just ask me or ask someone who's been here for a while.
That's this Saturday?
No, the 27th.
27th.
What time?
It'll be from 10
To
to
12.
10 to 12. So Sarah, Yvette will be reaching out to you because there's not enough parking there, so we'll probably have people park over at Public Works and just have people walk in groups across Manassas Drive.
Okay.
That's it, thank you.
Anyone else want to make public comment? Seeing no one and hearing no one, moving on to manager's report.
For manager's report, last night I emailed responses to Councilmember Moore's question. I'll just kind of give a brief highlight of each if you guys want, and then we'll go from there, see if you have any questions. So timelines for Durrani's and La Finca. So just, I did meet with Durrani's owner earlier this evening. He's doing a video thing he's going to post on social media where he's kind of doing like a video presentation of what's going on and what his plans are. So stay tuned for that. He was out there filming the plaza and the facility. But for their timeline, what they sent the mayor and I last night was a tentative opening of July 23rd, but that assumed no interruptions. But right now they do have an interruption, which is at least a 4-week delay in some additional financing. So I would say it's more going to be like end of August, early September for their opening, assuming everything goes well with their financing. For La Finca, but again, they start paying rent in June, right? So they're gonna have a few months now paying rent and common area maintenance without being open. So the timeline for them to kind of speed up is going to come here. And then La Finca, their timeline that they provided yesterday was September 9th. So I think they'll probably both be very similar. I would, conservatively say sometime in September or October they should be open. But again, they both start paying in June, so they're really going to be pushed to start to open a lot sooner as possible. In terms of the VRE garage, everything's going great with the garage. It's on budget, no overruns at this point. Expected completion summer, fall of 2025. So they're expecting it to be done a little bit earlier. They originally were saying January of 2026, so a little bit earlier. I'm going to say it's fall of 2025. Right? We'll see what happens with that, but you'll actually see a big chunk of it go up this summer. So you'll see a lot of progress this summer on the garage project. And if you haven't, you can go check it out right now. They're doing great work out there. But so far, so good with the garage. No cost overruns at the moment. The ladder truck, Chief Soper answered that tonight that they will do what they need to keep it staffed and then answer the questions about kind of the long-term funding for those positions, which is going to be important for us to figure out how to get done. And that, again, is improving your tax base. That's how you do that. Let's see. Movie theater, we're talking about that in closed session, kind of the final answer for their financing. The lateral question, that's still in deliberation between Alan and our city attorney to finalize the documents there. And then Juneteenth, that was presented on tonight, along with all of our Freedom Month, we're calling it. And then the current plans for the new vacant building next, so Building C is what we call it. So the steakhouse lease is pretty much finalized minus the CAM cost, the common area maintenance. We're waiting on a quote from Patriot to figure out what the cost of servicing the dumpsters is going to be for them. When they have that, they put that into the lease, and then both parties will sign. So expect that to be signed here in the next week or so. Hopefully we'll get the updated quotes from Patriot here shortly, or another company if we need to, for the cost of more frequent, because they're going to need a lot more servicing than just what Patriot does right now. So that's what they're trying to weigh to see how much the tenant's going to have to pay for that. So that's what's holding up the lease there. I wish they would have asked us a few months ago, so we would have had this better prepared, but Calvin and his team are working on that. Any questions on this?
Questions?
So the steakhouse opening would be roughly
9 months after they sign
9
the lease.
months after the contract.
So hopefully they sign the lease in April, or let's call it early May, right? So May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January opening.
Okay.
And as a reminder, Lil Bowl, that ribbon cutting is scheduled for next Tuesday at 5 p.m. if you can join us for that.
Okay, super, okay. And that's for sure?
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. As of today, that's what I got. I'll let you know if anything changes, but I think they're just waiting. They're wrapping up some work, and then they have to have a final inspection. But they're almost ready to open, and that's a huge historical event to finally get a restaurant in Park 170. And they'll hopefully also be showcasing. Their goal is to put up some signage for the other businesses that have already signed leases to kind of let the public know what's coming as well.
Okay, okay, thank you. Are you done?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We do have a closed session. Dean, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can you read us into closed session, please?
Sure, I recommend the governing body go into closed meeting for the following reasons: to discuss and consider the disposition of city-owned real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position and negotiating strategy of the city, and to discuss two separate prospective businesses and industries where no previous announcement has been made of their interest in locating in the city, pursuant to paragraphs 3 and 5 respectively of subsection 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. We'll take a 5-minute comfort break.